Welcome to WYCD Wicked, that stands for What You Can Do. And I'm going to start off by saying goodnight, AC. Rest well, buddy. Yeah, we're going a little bit later these days due to reasons. It's not forever. But thank you for joining me for a late night stream. We're going to try another speed debate stream. Mostly because I want to get the format down quickly. I want to do a lot of these really fast so we have a good format, we make good content, and hopefully convince a few undecideds to vote correctly and convince a few MAGA folks to at least stay the home over the next couple of dozen days. The moment is here. To bring the mood way down at the start, Lebanon is under siege from Israel. The wayward ally of the United States continues to wreak havoc in the region because they were given an excuse to, and they're run by right-wingers. And right-wingers, conservatives around the world, are terrible, terrible human beings, bad at running governments. It's always been true. It is just made abundantly clear. So, all the more important that we get good at convincing people. Sandy, hello. Good to see you, my friend. The Princess, hello to you. I just closed Discord. You are, of course, welcome to join and be our decider of... Oh, nice. Thumbnail. Heck yes. We could use one. I'm stealing stills from Fight Night. Yeah, you're welcome to join and be our decider of things if you so choose. If you just want to take the night off, no worries, buddy. I'm doing some experimenting. To that end, it's most likely that we're gonna get just a bunch of lefties on here, if anybody wants to come on at all, and that's fine. Frankly, there is no group that is better suited for disagreeing with each other than lefties. And I want to throw this out there. Doesn't have to be about politics. We can talk about anything. We can debate anything. I bet we can find something. And on that note, I would very much like to talk about who ought to be uncanceled. That's going to be my first pitch of the evening. I'm being intentionally quiet. There we are. Here is the link to join. I'll put it in a moment. I'm going to put in the link to join in a moment. Here's the format. It goes 2 minutes and 30 seconds for either person to make their point and then respond to it. Followed by an audience vote, followed by 30 seconds each to recap each other's point, and then a brief discussion. The brief discussion, I think, should be no greater than 5 minutes. Then that will constitute one round, and then the audience will vote. We'll do a poll I'm just now realizing I should have done a little video graphic with the song. To be continued. We'll do a poll to see if you'd like to keep going with this same debate. If you want to hear more from the people that were up here, and so on and so forth. The Raging Tomato. Good to see you. I was on her show the other day, and it was a hoot. Let's get it started. Here is the link. Pinning that message. If you'd like to join, use that link and we will debate whatever you want. But first, I'm going to pitch to you the uncanceling of someone. Tonight, first up, Wesley Snipes. If you all aren't aware, Wesley Snipes went full on wackadoo on the set of Blade Trinity. He would only let people address him as Blade. He walked around like Daniel Day-Lewis, basically being in character for the whole film. He stayed locked in his trailer most of the time, and generally behaved like a maniac. Uncancel him. That's fantastic movie star behavior right there. Look, do movie stars have to be good people? No. No, I say. In fact, I think there should be people in our society who we give a pass to being bizarre in the name of being interesting. We do it with rock stars. We do it with movie stars. And I will grant genuinely evil behavior, the Weinsteins of the world, bad. Can't have it. Shouldn't have it. The Diddies, my God. No, can't have it. But the Snipeses. This man could not find a film to fail. This man got up there and gave us an excellent performance as a sci-fi villain doing martial arts and Dustin mother in the future. Was it Repo Man? What was the basically Judge Dredd that Stallone was in that wasn't Judge Dredd? That. It's fantastic. He gave us Blade. Blade. Dust. And you're telling me that it's not interesting as hell? That he's out there acting like a vampire? You're telling me that's not a fascinating anecdote that everybody on that set got to have for the rest of their lives? You know, Wesley Snipes walked around acting like Blade. It was bizarre. That's awesome. That's the kind of I want to have happening behind the scenes in Hollywood. That's the kind of stuff that's fun. That's Gary Busey fun. Not healthy for Busey, not healthy for Snipes. But should we cancel him for it? No, sir. No. Uncancel Wesley Snipes. Let's all nicely. He was in What We Do in the Shadows. The fella's got a sense of humor. We should all nicely ask Wesley Snipes to please be famous again. Go ask Hollywood. Find your local Hollywood representative and annoy them. We should make Wesley Snipes famous again. He's fantastic. If you disagree, feel free to use the link in the description. Raging Tomato, hoot and holler. Absolutely. Donald James X, good to see you. I remember I wasn't too impressed with Blade. There's some good kung fu in it. Yeah. It's a kung fu monster movie. It's basically what it advertises itself as on the tin. You want to see a guy chop up monsters with a sword? Wesley Snipes will do that for you. All he asks for is a crisp $10 million. A very humble ask by today's standards. And then yeah, he'll dice up Draculas. It's great. Snixabia, good to see you. I don't appreciate the last word there, but Snipes is a damn. I don't appreciate anything about it. Snipes is a national treasure. Name me Raging Tomato. Name me a Wesley Snipes movie that wasn't amazing. Genuinely. Even the sequel to The Fugitive. All parts that. Well, let me tell you this. Name me a Wesley Snipes scene in a movie that wasn't amazing. This could be a 10-hour stream and not one person could do it. He's a treasure. Wireless Mike, if Jared Leto, God help me, is going to keep being cast in movies, Snipes should be allowed to be weird. He's a much better actor than Leto. Thank you. That's all I'm saying. There's different kinds of weird Hollywood types, and Snipes is the kind I like. He's the Keith Moon of acting. By God. I don't, if Keith Moon was my friend, I would have a sincere conversation with him about how much a human liver can sustain in one lifetime. But I love that he's out there consuming 1/4 of the entire planet's drugs. That's fascinating. That's super interesting rock star right there. That's how rock stars have credit. That's Wesley Snipes. That's Wesley Snipes. Pretending to be an actual Dracula on the set of a movie. You can't do better. Joining us is Debbie. Debbie, want to talk nothing else.
Hi, can you hear me?
I surely can.
I just threw my studio back together the other day, so I don't know if it's working. But I'm not much of a debater, but I think there's a lot of people that have been canceled lately that should be canceled that are hanging out with Diddy.
Oh, perfect in one moment, because I also hear myself over there.
Okay, let me see what I can do. I didn't know. Let me try turning this one down. I'm working on a board. Try it now.
Okay, I'm testing. Hey, I don't hear anything.
No, I
Great.
don't hear you at all. Okay, hold on.
Good. So I think this is a fantastic conversation. Oh, I hear myself again. I've returned.
Damn, I wonder why. Let me try turning this one down. Well, that turns me down.
You're brave.
Are you doing
I'm 6'2" and there's two of me.
Is it doing it now? That's from Don't Tell Me. That was the twins.
I can't remember the name of the movie. I'm desperately trying to.
It was about Facebook.
Yeah, the social network.
Yeah, he goes, I'm 6'2", 220 pounds, and there's two of me. They were so narcissistic, I thought. I don't know, whatever.
Yes, but it was a good jab.
Yeah.
I still hear myself there. Is there any it got better.
Let me see what else I can do. I don't know what else to do if I turn this down. I don't hear myself. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure it out. I had the studio all set up, and then when I broke it down, I apparently didn't put it back together right. So I don't know what to do here.
C'est la vie.
Can you still hear yourself?
I can, yeah. Do you have headphones you could use?
I have headphones on.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the bad thing. Hold on. I don't know what to do because nobody's here but me. My sound guy's not here.
You have a sound guy?
I do. My husband actually graduated with a degree from the University of Texas in sound and TV.
You have a sound guy and he loves you. So he's extra dedicated to a good show.
Either that or he does a really good job pretending.
Okay, fair. Either way, functionally, it's the same thing. Let it ride. All right. Well, while you are trying to get that set up, I just want to say I love the idea you have. I think let's go for it. I think you've got your work cut out for you. Because from what I've heard of the Diddy fiasco, he's essentially the devil. So the peripheral people to him that have been canceled, make your best pitch for why they should be uncanceled.
Hey, I'm going to hit play over here on this other Macintosh I have, and I'm going to see. They're saying that you're echoing. Let me see. I'm going to hit play.
Okay. He gave us.
Can you still hear yourself?
I can, yeah. The headphones.
Yeah, it sounds like you're in an echo chamber.
Well, that's not entirely inaccurate.
Okay, mute me and see if it does that.
Okay, 1 second. Now I am talking, and when you see this and you're playing it back, this is when I was talking by myself. All right. Play it back when my hands were up like that.
Damn. I don't know what to change. Really don't know what to change.
We can roll with it. We'll go 2 minutes, 30 seconds at a time. I'll put up a timer on here. And just give me your once I have it ready, just give me your pitch for why you think some folks in Diddy's periphery should be uncanceled. That's genuinely going to be interesting to me.
Why I think they should be uncanceled? Is that what you're saying?
I thought that's what you're saying. Whatever it is that you wanted to do.
Well, I think that what I've read, what I've seen, is there were some pretty nasty things going on over at his house, and it involved the forcing of prostitutes to do things beyond what they wanted to do, and they were forced and they were given drugs. It was just a really nasty situation going on. Now, whether they were, I don't know if it had anything to do with race or what. And I don't know. But people that were over there and were cheering this sort of situation on, or were avid watchers of these things that were going on in these different rooms, I think they should be held accountable, be it Beyonce, Jay-Z, whoever it is. I think that they should get a slap on the wrist. I don't think that they should be canceled by any chance. But I think Diddy should, because from what I understand, this is what I know this is a fact. He took, who's the little boy that just got famous? Justin Bieber, for example. He took him and said, I'll make you a star, but I'm going to get 15% of everything you make. And his parents approved it. And so he's making money off of him. And they also said that he did that with Kevin Hart, with, a lot of people. Like they said, when Kevin Hart hit Los Angeles, he was not funny. He was not popular. He was not drawing crowds. He was not killing it. He wasn't doing anything. He got with Diddy, and Diddy, who has pull, because I've always known that Diddy was the most successful rapper in like the history of the world, even more so than Eminem. And yeah, exactly, Pinkerbell. Wealthy predators abusing their power. But it's like he did that with Kevin Hart, Justin Bieber, Usher, and he's still making money off of every time they open their mouth, or anytime they do an album, he's making money off it because he's signed contracts with them. And that's horrible. And although he may have had the power to get you where you wanted to go, I mean, in 1 year, Kevin Hart had his own show, and he was astonishing. He was everywhere. And I think Kevin Hart's funny. Do you?
I do. I was going to say, I don't think 1 second. Let me give you a little more time. I was going to say,
I'm going to be
Diddy
like a senator.
could not have
I yield
made
my
him
time
funny.
I yield my time to Jake. Go ahead.
So let me see if I understand what you're pitching here. You're saying the folks around Diddy should not be canceled, but Diddy should be.
Well, I think it depends on the extent to which they were involved with these parties that they call, what do they call them?
Freakouts, I think. Is that it?
Freakouts. That's horrible. I mean, my daughter just sent me a link. I think It sounds like I live in the streets of New York.
Oh, freak offs. Excuse me.
Freak offs. You know, we've had some wild parties back in the 80s and the 90s, but I don't think I would ever venture to do something like what he was doing. He had people almost as slaves that were doing,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Some pretty nasty stuff. And these people have come across as, oh, I think Kevin is funny too, Snixabee. Snixabee. I hate saying chat room names. But yeah, do you know what I'm saying? Am I making any sense here? I don't think that, if you were just at a party drinking and you didn't go in there and go, all right, I don't think that you should be canceled.
I'm in agreement with you, but for the sake of the show. Oh, you know what? Maybe because of the echo, I can get away with not arguing against. Because I just agree with you. I think you're right. He's the culprit. Get the culprit. Now, all right. Now I'm going to put time on the clock. And if you could, either turn my volume down or try to have mercy on your old pal Jake. In fact, I'm just going to do a minute 30. Here's what I think. This stuff doesn't just happen. People knew. It was an open secret, just like it was with Weinstein and 100 other Hollywood types. I think we're approaching a point in society where just getting the main perpetrator isn't sending the message. And I think there are a few choice people in the crowd of very guilty people that ought to be held up as folks who experience consequences. If those consequences are not going to be legal, they should be social. And we should say, no, that's the guy that helped the diddler out for 20 years. We're not listening to that person's music. That being said, I don't know of any specific person who I would really hold accountable because apparently as a gentleman who's lacking melanin, I was not aware of this. I was not aware of the Diddy thing until like a month ago, an embarrassingly near time. So I will play devil's advocate there, but I largely agree with you if I'm honest. All right, you have 30 seconds.
Okay.
Go ahead. Can you rephrase what I've said back to me?
Well, you said that you think that other people should be held accountable if they were participants in the debauchery that was going on where Diddy was at, whether it was the Hotel California, the Hilton Hotel, whatever it was, he rented out rooms. You think that they should be also held accountable. I'm not so sure if I agree. Go ahead.
One change there. Mm-hmm. Not if they were necessarily participants even, but if they allowed it to happen with their silence. If they knew it was going on, they chose to do nothing because they were more interested in their own careers than justice for the victims.
Good point. Very good point. I just got another link from my daughter. Well, yeah, they were. Pinkerbell says a lot of people around him were under his control and coercion because he held their career and livelihood in his hands. This is true. He was very, very powerful, and he knew how to get things done. When you have somebody like, I'm real bad with names. If you ever listen to my shows, everybody that was there would take Debbie's horrible with names. Who's the guy that owned Death Row Records? He's in prison now for murdering a guy with his car.
I should know that.
Yeah, what was his name? Yes, Suge Knight. Thank you, Obsessive Audio. Suge Knight has recently, he has a podcast that he gets on these calls from prison. And yeah, he does, I swear. And he talks, and I found one of them, and he said that, he said a lot of stuff, but he mostly said that he thought that Diddy was extremely powerful, just knows everybody, and he's just It is. He was podcasting. I mean, I swear to you. And he calls into this show that he calls in all the time, and they let him talk. And he said that, I mean, Diddy goes back to the Pac days, Tupac days.
Oh
He
yeah.
knows all that. He is involved in all of that. And I think that some people just have a way. Really, the death penalty? Wow, that we have a lot of that in Texas. We have people. I'm in Dallas, Texas, and they're always killing people over here. You know what they say? If you come to Texas and kill somebody, we will kill you back. And yeah, Don James just said he wants to argue for the death penalty for these people. I think that Justin Bieber was his biggest victim. In all honesty, that was his biggest victim, and Usher obviously was too. Usher was 15 when he started hanging around with him. Justin Bieber was younger than that. I'll shut up. Go ahead. Am I past my time?
No, you're not. But I do want to say that JRZ Toxin is, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, completely correct. As a white person, I can confirm. I do think he's funny, and I do think he's funny because he exaggerates. You've got me pegged. You're correct, sir. I think we're largely in agreement. I think at the end of the day, we're both just happy that fucking Puff Daddy, who turned out to be a serial, I don't even know what you call it. I don't think they have a word for it. Is in prison, and we're probably going to lose the key for the good of humanity.
I agree. I'm trying to stay muted while you talk. There is a question is I'm so bad about reading what somebody says. She just said the question about something. I think that when people get powerful like that, Cuff Daddy, that's good. When people get powerful, I think they let it go to their heads, certain individuals. And I think
Yeah.
that he did. And, they say that rich and powerful people love to do crazy sex things. They talk about going over to that island, what they call the island of Dr. Moreau. No, the island where they sacrifice a child or some crazy stuff like that. Oh, I'm drawing a blank on everything.
Dr. Moreau would be, Epstein Island is where they go to.
No.
diddle kids.
This was worse than that. This was where all the elites went, and some Alex Jones crashed the party about. You know what I'm talking about? A few years ago, where they were sacrificing children or something like that. It was really wild.
That 100% did not happen.
I
can say
believe
with
you. I don't
full
believe anything that
confidence.
Alex Jones is a maniac.
But
He's
still
insane.
interesting. Yes, he is. So I put a poll up. Here's how the show's going. Every time we get through a segment like we've just done, I put a poll up and say, "Do you
Bohemian
want-"
Grove. Yes, I'm sorry to
Bohemian
interrupt you.
Grove.
Bohemian Grove. Yes, that was it.
That's something different and real, but it's got nothing to do with child sacrifice. It is a weird retreat that the rich go on, though. I would love to we should do a separate stream about Bohemian Grove. I think we'd both be fascinated by it. But anyway, I do a poll to see if people want us to keep talking about what we've been talking about. They do. So when it comes to Diddy and his associates, where do you, I'm going to put 2:30 on the clock, where do you draw the line? As in, who do you think deserves to be in trouble as well, and who doesn't?
I don't
And you
think we
have
know
to have
that.
specific people.
I don't think we know that yet. I don't think it's come to light. I think that a lot of people are deleting their Twitter accounts. They're excuse me. They're on the run. Like, for example, J-Lo is on the run. Excuse me. Yes, it was too much
Yeah.
Bohemian Grove. They have there's a lot of people, that are on the run right now. So we don't know their involvement, but for them to be deleting things and being on the run and hiding out, I think that screams guilty, that they were in the room watching things and cheering people on, or what they were involved. The people that just went over to the party. Well, what I mean by that, Snixaby, I guess that's your name, is she's in hiding. No, she's not fleeing the country. She's in hiding. She hasn't been seen or heard from since all of this started. And what's his face? Her husband, her ex-husband, is disgusted with it. But there's so many people that are involved in this deal.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? There's a lot that are coming forward and saying, "Look at the little guy that there's what's Cat Williams. Cat
Oh,
Williams
yeah.
he had a lot to say about that. And also, there's a lady that I didn't know who she was. Her name is Jaguar something, Jaguar Williams or something. She knows everything.
Hmm.
Yeah, she was involved in all of this. I don't think she was involved in it, but she knew about it.
Yeah. Not a surprise to me.
Yeah, her name is
Like that
Jaguar.
we're gonna keep finding names that are new to us. I shouldn't be using your time for this. It's just commentary. I don't think it's gonna be. I think we're gonna keep finding names of people we've never heard before who knew a lot of stuff that these famous people were doing.
I don't know. I think it's a very sad thing. I think it's horrible. And I'm just glad that Michael Jackson's not around anymore. I mean, they're really coming down hard on Steve Harvey.
Steve Harvey, we're gonna go. I'm gonna pause the timer entirely because we're gonna go off into another direction here, and I can't think of something I disagree with you on this. Steve Harvey's a sincerely weird dude. I suspect he means well, but god damn, he just suffers from having been famous his whole life. Basically, he doesn't know what's a bizarre thing to say anymore.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Can I play something that's Cat Williams talking about Steve Harvey that is not what do you call it? Copyright?
Literally, can you? If you can, yes.
Yeah.
You
let me
have
see
my
if y'all-
blessing.
Tell me if y'all can hear this.
Hi, Mark Barden at Sandy Hook Promise here. When the gunman shot his way into Sandy Hook Elementary,
Messy. Took Sean Diddy Combs into custody. He's seen in this video entering the Park Hyatt Hotel in Midtown Manhattan with others when agents from Homeland Security Investigations approach and separate him. They place Combs under arrest and lead him out the front door in handcuffs.
Now, if you remember Cat Williams' infamous sit-down with Shannon Sharpe earlier this year, you'll know that Cat didn't hold back. He dropped bomb after bomb about Sean Diddy Combs, Steve Harvey, and a bunch of other A-listers. You could almost hear jaws dropping across the internet. The truth is, Cat has been warning us for years. Hollywood is a twisted place, and the people at the top, they have secrets they'd do anything to keep buried. But 2024 is proving to be the year those secrets come to light, and it's all starting with Diddy and Steve Harvey.
He controlled every aspect of her life. He is accused of frequently beating her and would hide her in hotel rooms for days until the bruising and signs of abuse were gone.
During that interview with Shannon Sharpe, Cat made some wild claims about Diddy's parties. Now, if you know anything about Diddy,
Say
you've probably
Steve
heard the
Harvey
rumors swirling
hit
around
somebody?
his legendary mansion parties. And let's just say
Yeah, Steve Harvey's all up in this stuff.
I just thought he was
Yeah.
giving a terrible his terrible read of the Bible to his audience.
No. I've done this kind of just got to me and I just kept going further, deeper and deeper and deeper. He was involved in this shit stuff. I don't know if
Oh.
you'd like cussing. But
That's fine.
I don't want this lady to talk. I want to have him talking. Let me see if I can find a better one here. I want to
Sure.
show him actually talking. Cat Williams. Cat Williams exposes Steve Harvey must run as Diddy told him to. Cat Williams predicted Diddy's downfall. That's a short. Let's see what this one says.
To hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It doesn't matter if you did it or whoever you is. All lies will be exposed. So if you and a man was in a corner doing something you wasn't supposed to be doing, I'm gonna tell you, I know so many things I should know. When I walk in a room, heads go down.
Give us a little justice on that volume.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just
It's all
tweaking
good.
it a little bit. And they just,
You gotta say no to Diddy.
this
If
is,
it's new booty in the building, you know he gonna get it.
I just think that everybody is coming out. Everybody. It's crazy.
Oh yeah.
They're
As
just,
well they should. I'm just annoyed that they didn't do this earlier, although apparently some of them were, and just nothing was happening. But yeah, they should. There should be, make it easy for folks to know what happened.
So you think, I think that that's true. I think that all people that do things wrong should be held accountable. I'm just that much of a Christian. Now, Justin Bieber is crushed over this stuff. I mean, he did a song about it. Did you hear the song he did? I don't want to play that. That's copyright. But he did this song that was like, oh, I was sick and nobody gave a shit. And I went to this party and I didn't like what was going on. It was really weird.
Yeah, it's not a good time. Like, even if his song ends up being beautiful and having a great message, not a good time, buddy. Really
If
not a good
somebody
time.
told me we're going to kill you unless you name a Justin Bieber song, they'd have to kill me. Because I can't name. Can you name one of his songs?
No.
Just one.
Baby? There must be one named Baby. I haven't even listened, but there must be one.
Named Baby. That's good for you. That's good. That's good. That's excellent. Okay. It says right here, Justin Bieber's 48 Hours with Diddy, 2 minutes and 14 seconds long. Let's see what this is.
Yeah.
Hold on.
So, as soon as you turn 16, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna let you rock with everything. Yeah, this will be yours. So, it's a little dusty.
He's giving him a Ferrari, a brand new Ferrari. He said, as soon as you turn 16, this is going to be yours. Now, why would he do that? Because he thinks that he's got talent and he's going to jump on him and get his money. That's fact.
I
looked
will
that up.
certainly jump on him. That far I'll go, yes.
Usher.
I don't trust Diddy with any human being's orifices.
You know, and that really makes me mad because I loved him in Get Me to the Greek on Time. God, he was funny in that movie.
Bieber was?
No, Diddy.
Diddy, okay, yeah.
I forgot to tell people
love-
I'm on the air over here. I'm going to tweet this after we get off the air, and you'll have a big replay probably.
Well, heck yeah. And invite your audience to come and disagree with me. They certainly will, but I mean, you disagree in a way that I enjoy, so I can only assume the same will be true.
Get Me
of,
to the
people
Greek on Time. You said it's the worst aged movie of all time. That movie is exceedingly funny. I think it's hysterical.
I'll be honest, I saw about 5 minutes of it when I was proper drunk, and I don't recall any of it.
Justin Bieber's in tears over his past trauma from the music industry. I believe that there's some sick fucks out there, excuse my language, in La La Land.
Yeah.
I think we're going to hear more from J-Lo. I think something's going to go on with J-Lo. I really do.
Well, she was involved in that shooting that Diddy apparently the court said he wasn't involved in, but the person who got shot in the head said Diddy did it. So we'll see. You're right.
Oh, that was somebody else. Yeah, and she got found innocent in all charges.
All right, my friend. Thank you for stopping by. I'm gonna see what some of the other folks want to debate about.
Absolutely.
All right, I'll see you on the next one. That was Debbie. We've debated by text before, I believe, and I thank her very much for swinging on by. That was an interesting and unexpected topic of conversation. Let's see. First of all, let me shake some of this stuff up here. Hello, Melanie Cosmic Fox. I just want to see. Do you want to be on here as a guest or as a co-host?
Both.
Ah,
Can you hear me?
Okay.
Good. My voice. I rely on my mouth moving now to know that my audio is getting through, but then I change my thresholds and then I screw with myself.
I so
both.
sympathize. Once upon a time I wanted to do this whole thing as Pixel Jake, and I got frustrated like a child and had a tantrum and stopped. So I admire you for getting it to work.
By the way, I apologize for roasting you in the StreamYard side chat, but I was
It
almost
had
like
to be done.
I was preparing like a mock debate for your audio is objectively bad and you should fix it.
That's live internet, folks. It's what happens.
I was hoping that we could get into an argument about like can audio be objectively bad, or can there be someone out there who appreciates it, thus making it subjective?
I think it's all on the performer. I think audio can be objectively.
What about the beholder,
badly
though?
used. Fuck the beholder.
That's a bit of narcissism if I've ever seen it.
I'm fully on the side of the D&D parties on this one. Let's
The
pull up
D&D
our.
parties? Sorry.
I went too nerdy. I went too
Yeah,
nerdy.
but
now
what
she
does
knows.
Dungeons and Dragons have to do with this? Because I love
They
Dungeons and
fight
Dragons.
beholders.
Oh, the beholders, of course. Oh my god, the eye of the beholder, of course. Because they have that one big eye usually. It's not always,
Yeah.
but sometimes.
And a bunch of little stalks.
And sometimes they have a goldfish.
Oh my god, is that a poll? That's
Mhm.
a deep poll. Is that Acquisitions Incorporated?
I think so. It's my partner who has like a lot of the models and like even the artwork and stuff. So I know that there's this one beholder and he's really into gambling and he has this goldfish that's his favorite thing. He always values it above everything else.
Oh, delightful. Give them a pat on the back from your old pal Jake. That's fantastic. Let's pull up another what do you call it, guest, and we'll see which one of us they want to debate. This is Obsessive Audio. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, it's me. Hey, good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. And you have your pick of people you'd like to sway one way or another. Is there something in particular that you wanted to debate about?
No, I mean, the topic of conversation was interesting. Like you said, it was unexpected. I mean, yeah, I'm the Russia guy. When it comes down to area of expertise and stuff. I've been following the Diddy stuff is crazy.
Well, the broader topic of conversation that was suggested earlier is who do you think should be uncanceled?
Uncanceled.
I made a pitch for Wesley Snipes, personally.
That was good, yeah. I tend to agree with that one.
So
And
are we
can I
allowed
think
to
of anyone
say?
else?
Yeah, are we allowed to say like they can be uncanceled if they do X, Y, and Z? Because I have some candidates for that. Because
Yes,
Russell
Melanie-
Brand,
Oh, okay.
I think he's
Ooh.
eccentric and he has gone down some like he's a bit gullible, right? So but I think he's also savable. Like I think he can redeem himself without any particular community being like, no, I don't feel safe with him in my community anymore. Just because he's never gone too deep with anything.
Now, I'll throw a curveball your way to see if you're aware of it. Did you know that he went down this right-wing turn right on the eve of a bunch of accusations of sexual impropriety?
Right. Okay. Yeah. It's either like there's just too many people. There's too many names and too many people to keep track of. I would need an actual list in front of me at this point.
No, it's fair enough. But are you saying a sincere apology might do it for you with Russell?
No,
Brand?
not if he's done that. Like that's not up for me to decide anymore because I'm like particularly I think like that's up for the victims to decide if there are actual victims of this person.
Fair enough. Who I'll save that one. Does anybody else come to mind that you think might be able to perhaps be redeemed?
I mean, just like
throw it.
yeah, anyone who hasn't actually victimized anybody or like incited stochastic terrorism from the right.
Yeah.
Because
If
I'm
they were just
obviously
annoying.
biased in favor of sarcastic terrorism for no, I'm kidding. But no, seriously, I like if you haven't victimized anyone, if you haven't caused any like far right violence, then you can reform yourself. Like, and I think that there's room for like subjective interpretation to say like no, especially so like to be more cautious than not. Like Lauren Southern, I just think has push the boundary of inciting that sort of thing too often, and it's more like we can't know when you've done that or not, rather. And oh yeah, and the grifting Christians things, I saw that from the Cavernacle. He did a really, with Bear Grylls no less, who's
yeah.
Like, by the way, there's a Canadian version of Bear Grylls. His name is Les Stroud. He's done his own TV series as well. It's called Survivor Man. It's really good, and I suggest you follow him instead.
We got a couple of experts here. Is it good?
Survivor Man is amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
You got to watch Survivor Man. I got to meet him. I went to he was reading from his book. He wrote a survival book.
He's like a YouTuber about it too, with the way he films it pretty much by himself.
Huh.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And he almost dies probably every fourth episode. He was doing it for seasons. He's been around the world, everywhere around the world. As the seasons progressed, they had more budget. Yeah.
And so he's done like a lot of Canadian survival stuff, which is particularly interesting to me because I would kind of like to bike to BC if I can ever get those things together, get up the leg strength and the stamina, which actually this year I've done pretty well. But
starting from where?
I'm in Southern Ontario, so I'd be going.
Oh, okay, yeah, me too. Toronto. So.
Oh, I love Toronto. I'm in London, Ontario, and Toronto's like it's got everything that London has, but just so much better and more.
Yeah, better, cleaner.
And you've got a Chinatown.
Yeah, it's huge here. It's.
I'm just saying that the Chinese food there is actually like to die for. There is no Chinese restaurant here that does it like they do in Toronto.
Now wait a minute. There has to be some disagreement between London and Toronto. There has to be, because that's going to be our debate. I'm telling you.
No, because I love Toronto. I don't love London. And if he loves Toronto and not London, then we're in
No, but I love London too, though. I've always had a great time in London, and if I wanted to pick on London, I would say, what's the school? The Western. Western is the conservative mill.
Did you know that they're right now their service worker or maintenance staff, service and maintenance staff are on strike, and things are just going to shit there?
Did not know that.
Neither did
I.
Yeah,
it's kind of interesting. It's interesting to see how it's starting to really put pressure on the administration to meet their demands, because everyone's complaining about the state of like cleanliness and things not working in labs and stuff like that.
Was there any relation, you think, or inspiration from the pro-Palestine encampments over the summer? Do you think there's any kind of intersection that's going on there?
Well, I know that unions tend to like plan these things like well in advance, and such a large action might even have been planned up to a year beforehand. So I doubt it.
Right.
Well, folks, the show is Speed Debate. If you've got something to debate, pitch it, and we will absolutely
debate.
Have it.
Well, here's what you're not doing, right, Jake? You're not bringing everyone who's backstage on, and then once we get like a conflict, then you put people into a one-on-one debate, right?
Okay. All right. Let's all.
Okay.
Sorry, obsessive. Well, if you had anything you wanted to do, I don't want to. Step
yeah. True or false? True or false? Trump is a Russian asset.
Ooh, I think true. What do you think, Melanie?
True.
I think true.
Let's get Donald Trump in here and see what he says.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to argue false? Does anyone or think that they could just play devil's advocate? Or
how about this guy, Donald Trump?
We've got some crackling audio.
We have some crackling audio from you, Donald.
Amazing.
Still hearing probably the contents of your skull. What's are you there, Donald Trump?
Are you making fun of me?
A little bit. Hey, your audio's as wretched as your record as president. Are you able to fix that at all? It's crackling quite a bit.
Is this thing on?
Not entirely.
Yeah, let's just say no, so that way he'll try to fix it.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna remove you for now because that audio was it hurt literally the earballs. But I what a perfect guess, because the obsessive audio is of the belief that Donald Trump is a Russian asset. We're just gonna put everybody on stage. It's the four of us right now. Don James. Oh, he died.
Hello.
Waiting. Oh, hey, buddy.
Hello.
Hey.
How's the audio? What's up, Obsessive? How you doing, man?
Yo, what's up? DJX. Awesome.
What's up? I've
Good
never
to
been
be
to
here.
London. Never been to London. London, that would be cool. That would be cool. To go
The
visit
problem
London.
is like everything's kind of like secluded. So if you're a tourist, like you go from one thing and then you have to like manage your way to the next. In Toronto, you can start with one thing and it's like there's like a path right to the next every single time. Or like sometimes it's even like next door that the next tourist attraction is.
Pinkerbell has a good twist on, is Donald Trump a Russian asset? Pinkerbell says, my question, knowingly or unknowingly? Now that's interesting. I think knowingly. Does anybody think unknowingly?
I don't care.
That's
I think knowingly. I think knowingly in the sense that, yeah, it's been going on for a very long time. I think his relations go back to the 80s. So he definitely knows who he's dealing with. They gave him a lot of money for condos and the buildings.
Knowingly or unknowingly?
I think it's more. I think it's likely, probably more likely that he knows if it's true.
That's what the three of us think. What about you, Melanie?
I feel like I need to just say like he's not a Russian asset at this point, and then just see where this takes us.
Oh no! It's. Do you think we're splitting hairs? And I like the way.
Well, no, I'm
going.
taking the negative on the first question, so that way it's a negative on the second.
Nice.
You can't possibly be knowingly doing it because it's not doing it. Like think about it this way, right? Like if Trump really needed help, would he go to the Russians and potentially like tarnish his own campaign, or would he go to like Israel and try to get like the Jewish Americans on his side?
So just so we can be clear, when you guys go into the debate, so Melanie, you're taking that he is not at all a Russian asset.
No, just that it's implausible to me, not that I know.
Okay, fair enough. So you think implausible, obsessive audio. You think
I have to hedge my
plausible.
bets a bit.
Fair enough. Don James, I'm going to remove you for now, but we will return to you, my friend. This debate is going to be between Melanie Cosmic Fox and Obsessive Audio. I will take myself off the board, and first we're going to have 2 minutes and 30 seconds from Obsessive Audio to discuss Donald Trump, Russian asset.
Okay, here we go. So why do I think that Donald Trump is a witting Russian asset? Like I said, going back to the 80s, there's a section of New York, Brighton Beach, where you can trace back some of those early Russian oligarchs and their influence in the United States. And this is around the time that Trump starts dealing with them. I think the earliest story is some story about TVs, a whole bunch of TVs, really, off the truck or something. And that's kind of where it begins. I haven't heard any stories about his father actually being involved with Russians in any way, because one might think that it was passed down. I don't know about that, but 80s, he runs for president. When there's an earlier time where he runs for president before 2016, I think maybe even 2 times before that. So definitely they have the FSB have their eye on him. They think he can be useful. Trump Tower itself, there was a wonderful thread about 3 or 4 years back that had a list of all the Russian oligarchs who were arrested or extradited, who had bought properties in Trump Tower. And of course, when we fast forward up to 2015, so in 2014 was when Russia invaded Crimea. Really nasty Ukrainian president as well around that time, Yanukovych, who was a total Putin puppet Russian sympathizer. And who was it that worked for this Yanukovych individual? It was a guy named Paul Manafort. Paul Manafort, of course, became Trump's campaign manager, even after there had been news about $15 million in the black ledger for Manafort to help this Yanukovych guy do Putin's bidding and assume control over Ukraine. So I think right there, that's already adding up. If you remember when they called after Trump won, and they called all of the intelligence people called all the senators in to this room, they all came out as white as a ghost. I think that's when a lot of this stuff was revealed officially to these senators, some of whom probably were very well aware in advance. Okay.
Now, a slight change in format from last time. If we could jump right to 30 seconds for Melanie to rephrase, to see if she's understood your argument. Melanie, when you're ready.
Sure. So I tried to write down certain responses, but I forgot to write down specifics of what you were saying. The first part of the history, I honestly missed. I noticed that you said that there is no evidence of collusion with Trump's dad, which is, we're on the same page there. You said something about a campaign in like the 80s and Trump being noticed.
Yeah, he did. He ran for president. Sorry. Take time.
I forgot about that. I'm not going to lie. And then you brought up, I'm just so bad with names, and Paul Manafort, and his ties with Russia, which again, I brought up another name and I kept hearing COVID because it's just
Yanukovych,
thank you. And you know, I have response to that, but that's not the issue. And yeah, like I said, I'm not doing a great job.
Can you try obsessive audio? Can you try in broad strokes? No timer on this one. Can you try to what? Oh, there
like the problem is that would be easier to do, Jake, if I wasn't forming my mock opinions while he was making his points. And
it's gonna be difficult, but
So the reason I brought up the can you steal your opponent, steal man your opponent thing, that's supposed to be at the end. So I feel like you're not doing it right because you're supposed to we're supposed to show that by the end we actually understood our opponent. The problem is this doesn't work as well in the beginning because people haven't also fleshed out their actual opinions.
No, that's okay. I got a plan for this. Obsessive audio, as much time as you need, preferably keeping it short. Can you broad strokes your arguments? Set aside the specifics. Set aside names.
A new list now for his specific arguments instead of the ones I had.
Same ones you just made. Obsessive audio.
So broad stroke it.
Not names, not locations, just I think because this.
I think because it follows Trump around wherever he goes. This his whole involvement, everyone around him seems to end up getting caught doing something. Sometimes it's just domestic fraud, but a lot of times it does involve these foreign individuals. Oligarchs, Russian, and obviously not just Russia. We just heard about the bags of money from Turkey. I think he's just corrupt. I think he may not have any particular allegiance to Russia or Putin or the vision there, but he does have allegiance to the money. He does seek the acknowledgement, from other leaders. He really does need that constant affirmation. His narcissistic personality demands it.
So this sounds like it's new arguments from what you were making before.
Yeah.
So in your previous 230, were you saying largely he has a bunch of connections with Russia and has had them throughout his time in the public light? Okay.
Exactly.
Right. Fair enough. Melanie, are you ready to give a counter argument? He is an unknowing Russian asset, perhaps, or whichever you choose to give.
Honestly, no. I was ready to make different arguments to begin with, and you've thrown me off kilter entirely. So
fair enough.
Sorry.
Would you like to respond?
Can I just ask you, was this your anticipated response, or were you intending to have a debate?
Like maybe when I said he doesn't have an allegiance to anyone in particular, then maybe, does that make him not an asset if he's not allegiance sake?
That's coming out of
well, yeah, we gotta get
anymore.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the Mueller report because that's
2 minutes and 30 seconds that I've yet to have that I could have made my own points, and then we had a back and forth. But you're being too formatted to actually allow that to happen. Now it's just going to seem like I'm talking past my opponent. So
No, that's fine. Talk past him. I just want to hear what the both of you have to say. I say respond to the initial thing that you were going to respond to. I'm just testing this out.
We're so far away from that, Jake.
Fair enough. Would you like to just do a free form conversation about it?
I've lost interest at this point. Like I have a learning disability with names and shit like that. Like that's already like me fighting an uphill battle. My brain feels dead just from trying. And
that's fine.
Like, I'm not trying to be emotional or anything. I've lost interest.
That's fine.
But you're trying to do something difficult though too, which is like play the devil's advocate, come up with opinions that might not even be yours for the sake of the debate.
Right.
Yeah, it is difficult.
And instead of me doing a plausibility argument, I have to make a collusion or that business ties are not collusion argument, which is just a totally different ground to do.
Well, that's good. That's a good. I like that.
I'm more political than I am. Like I'm more of like a political thinker than I am an economist. I don't like economics that much. I think a lot of it's wrong. So like you're asking me to like make a distinction between two realms, one of which I'm actually not very familiar with, and you're going to be coming from the economic standpoint. So like I can point out simply that business ties are not collusion. You have to like look at actual political shifts that Russia did. And I mean, if the Mueller report would have done that, it could have. It just seems like more plausible to me with what we have, the facts at the hands, that Russia, has more on its plate to deal with at home. Why would it try to influence elections abroad?
That is an intriguing angle. I don't see anything wrong with just talking about that for a couple minutes, if you're down for it, or if you guys just want to have a free form conversation. That's also cool.
Do you believe Trump when he says that he's the reason Russia did not invade Ukraine?
Oh, I don't believe that at all.
Okay, well,
not in the sense that he's not in the sense that he's trying to present anyway. Right? He's trying to say I'm so tough, or I'm so good, or I'm such a good negotiator, or they're so scared of me, or they respect me so much that this never would have happened. So that's how he tries to present it. I mean, it could be possible on the other end that Putin is deciding not to invade for his own strategic reasons that don't have to do with anything Trump's actively doing.
Sure. Now, when we're talking about like why these business ties might exist, is like having political collusion the only reason, or like if I'm a business person, say like a bit of a seedy one, let's be real, in the U.S., is there financial incentive rather for me to deal with the Russians?
Yes, because it's at the heart of it. I believe it's money laundering. Putin, for instance, takes 20 or 25% of all the trade. The entire Russian GDP ends up somewhere in his accounts somewhere. So, like, what you're dealing with is an unlimited money supply, and he's not the only country. You talk about something like the Saudi Foreign Investment Fund, or they have them. The more authoritarian a country gets, too, the more you see this. That it basically becomes they have all this money and they just need to throw it out. And of course, in the USA, the billionaire oligarchs, the far right Christian dominionists, are in the same boat. They basically are like throwing an unlimited money supply at this thing.
Sure. Here's why I want direct evidence of collusion. It's because this reminds me of like the fear of Russian mind control back in the days, where they'd be like, oh, they can hook you up to some electrodes and flashlights and play weird sounds in your eyes, and then you're suddenly hypnotized into being a Russian sleeper agent, and you wouldn't even know it. You just seem you seem and feel like a normal American citizen, and they snap their fingers and say a buzzword, and you're now their sleeper agent. This was actually like a Cold War scare that went around. I don't know how popular it really was, but people believe this, and it was part of the war propaganda. It's easy to point to the Russians and be like, they're going to do something bad, they're controlling something. But when you actually talk about what they're doing, this is something where, like, at the end of the day, like most people who do political analysis would say, you're going to get mixed results. There's no way that you're going to get predictable results from this, right? You're throwing excrement at the wall and seeing what sticks. And so my problem with this is that without direct evidence, it's too easy to point at that alien country and be like, they're different than us. You know, why wouldn't they do something that we're too good to do? The USA never does this. And I'm not trying to debate the fact that US does it or not, but it's just my opinion that the US probably does it abroad in some more direct forms than others.
And this is, you're raising a really good point here too, because what is the delineation between, say, actively interfering in an election, which, you know, on one hand, you could consider that an act of war. On the other hand, international influence into other countries, you know, we call that statecraft diplomacy, aggressive diplomacy. You could look at what the U.S. has done to Central and South America, or any number of, you know, countries do to each other, where they actually do affect the course of politics in a totally different nation. That happens a lot. I think everyone does it. Canada right now, of course, I'm sure you know, we had the India thing, the Modi thing, where there were the actual assassination on Canadian soil, which
I said I'm political, but honestly, I let that slide right through. Like, I did not pay any attention to it. So,
but anyway, but just like to go sweeping about it, like the countries are doing it. You know, China's trying to influence, Russia's trying to influence Iran, India, and Turkey's showing up on the map a lot more often now too. Right, we've got Menendez, and now. And then that story about Trump with the bags of money, and what's the? No, actually, the Trump bags of money were Egypt. That's right. No, there's a new Turkey thing. Is that Eric Adams?
I don't know.
It's politicians taking foreign money when they shouldn't. It's politicians, and the technical law is that they're acting on behalf of another state, which isn't in itself wrong. It's if you don't report it, then it's wrong. I mean, we're not at war officially with any of these countries. So it wouldn't be like treason or something to say, hey, you know what? I like Viktor Orban. I'm going to, stump for him. That's not illegal. What's illegal is if you're, in a government position and you don't tell people that you're doing it, if you don't report it.
So wait, are you saying that Trump is doing that?
I think he is. I think Helsinki was the proof for me when he came out of that room, Vladimir Putin, where they told the translator to destroy the notes. Didn't talk about what was said in that room.
I can think of a secretary
so submissive.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I'm just comically thinking like Trump probably said some like top secret shit that's between Russian and American military strategy, because it's my opinion that if anything, our two countries collude more than they actually fight. Or when I say our two countries, I mean
especially when you talk about the business and the economics. Absolutely, it is so intertwined.
Yeah, and so I'm guessing he said something just that even that translator wasn't supposed to know, kind of thing. And then Putin, being somebody who's actually or what should I say, strategically apt, he was like, nope, we can't keep that on the record. That's going to cause, and not even for bad reasons, just because it's so. And I'm not normally I'd be on your side about this, but that possibility still exists. And knowing Trump, he probably does that at least once in a while.
Do you think maybe he's just too dumb to know what any of it means?
Not necessarily. I think it probably takes more time for people to explain it to him, for him to fully be oh, okay, this isn't just me making money right now, or this isn't just for me.
because there are times where he does seem to be very shocked and indignant. He when he got called out on that call to Zelensky, the Ukraine, the first impeachment, he was so indignant about that. I think he honestly believed that he didn't do anything wrong. But unfortunately, all the staffers that worked there at the time saw that what was going on, and they thought it was wrong.
I don't remember that, so I can't comment on it.
Yeah, that was the first impeachment. When he called, Zelensky the president, the new president then of Ukraine. Crimea had already been invaded, but the full-scale invasion of today hadn't started. And he basically threatened. The idea was he was saying, "Hey, we're going to send you this next shipment of adverse money, maybe some arms." It was a significant sum of relief, and he tried to dangle it over. This is what he's accused of anyway. He tried to dangle it over the head of this new president in Ukraine. It's like, if you don't find me dirt on Joe Biden, because Joe Biden's son had actually been on a board there. They've misrepresented the facts of that over the years to a degree where it's like it's hard to even remember.
And I'll agree, it's stupid for Trump fans to be like, "Oh, collusion on this side doesn't matter," but oh my God, that collusion is such a big deal. That kind of thing, because it's about kind of like the same amount of evidence on both sides if you think about it. I'll admit that.
It's like tone down the rhetoric, right? It's yeah, okay.
Yeah,
as a general concept. Yeah. We're agreeing too much is the problem.
It's always going to happen.
Well, I was doing that as like this is like a strategic loss where I can disarm you a bit, and it's like if I admit this, I'm not really like disarming my own points too much, but it's fine. Okay, Jake, can I show you kind of what the format from this point on I had in mind was?
Yes.
So I'm going to skip the skill to personing argument because I already botched that, and it's probably just going to be awkward to try again. So assuming we did that, first I would ask Obsessive Audio, would you want to debate me again?
Absolutely, yeah. Anytime.
Okay, great. And
totally having fun, and it's great.
I would want to debate Obsessive Audio again, so just assume I asked the other guest that. And then, Jake, this is where you would critique both of our debating styles.
Fair enough. I will then. I didn't hear any direct compliments of me, and so room for improvement, I guess. No,
or is it just room for your improvement as the host to actually do more to make us compliment you?
Fair.
Could be a
you know
issue.
what? I'll take that. I'll acknowledge it. You're not wrong. I need to fish for compliments more. But no. I honestly, it was a lovely conversation. I enjoyed it. That's how I hope most of them go, format or not. It was interesting, and I was reminded of some things that at one time I knew but forgot. And I also appreciated your perspective of like, look, some shady things certainly happened when Trump tore up those notes, but we're assuming we know what the shady thing was. And I have to admit, you got me, because I was certain I knew, but I really don't. I don't know. He does so many shady things. Fill in the blank. It was a fantastic conversation.
How do we know it's not a blunder, if anything? Because
that's such a good point, because in terms of the proof,
comforting point.
Are we ever going to find? Are we ever going to find proof that Trump called Vladimir Putin on this date and they said this thing and here's the recording? And I mean that is what happened with the Zelensky thing, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. The Mueller report's amazing because Mueller report, they couldn't conclude enough to say, hey, yes, absolutely, this was collusion. They did state that part of it was not having evidence and uncooperative witnesses and that sort of thing. They also, but the cool thing about the Mueller report is that that's part two, the Trump and the collusion and what did we find and who do we interview, what do they say. Now, part one is it outlines Russia's influence campaign and how it actually worked, where they had, they called them bots, but they're really just farms of people It's just posting and memeing and it's like a cubicle office, right? Real people. Yeah, they're all spreading the same message, and they were creating all these fake Facebook groups and other groups online. They were actually able to get people to join and to get them so worked up that they would attend events. There were actual rallies and events that were held that were totally organized by people on a different continent, no one here. And they were getting people to show up to this. And that's part one of the Mueller report. And that's the part that kind of got lost. Bill Barr is the one I blame mostly
I
for
heard
that.
all about it. And I was going to get into, like, I kind of had a point in the back of my head, like, well, yeah, but, you know, look how many people America has just in their basements doing that for free.
Yes.
Like, well, here we are, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm one of them. And, you know, they're recording it all. You know, when we chat on the YouTube and stuff, that's all getting logged.
We're being
That's
fed
all
into like Russian AI bots. I guarantee it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. Canada's like that's a huge topic in Parliament, right? This is the foreign influence from a bunch of different countries.
Yeah. On my actual sincerely held personal opinion here, I think the U.S. has led the charge on what is happening to us right now. We started this thing, and it doesn't mean it's right or fine. It's not. We have to do. I think my country. Oh, I do hear my own echo now. Moving on. I think my own country bears the responsibility of leading the charge to stop it, which means we should knock it off in all countries that were doing it, and then put in actual factual laws with consequences for when we discover other countries doing it to us, because it's insane. It's making everybody crazy.
You know, there's just not enough people who believe in karmic justice anymore.
Yeah. I believe in manual karma.
What do you think about Trump? Do you get the sense, I'm sort of feeling deep down that he's not going to get completely away with everything? There is a moment coming.
I think so. Yeah. Fully, yes. The story of America since the Reconstruction has been leading to this. We've been putting this off for a century, and we simply refuse to hold our various oligarchs accountable. And we had settled into this comfortable kind of abuse that we could sustain. It wasn't good. But it was killing us slowly enough that we could sustain it. We would let Nixon get away with this crime or that as long as we all agreed he was a bad person. We would let Bush get away with horrific war crimes and just wagging the dog on the U.S. military-industrial complex, so long as we agreed that we'd have a black guy as the next president to show we had grown up a little bit. But we were always shirking our responsibility to hold our leaders accountable. And Trump was just too cartoonish. He's too much of an exaggeration of everything that's wrong with the United States. So if we don't deal with him, I look forward to being part of Southern Canada because the U.S. will not continue to exist.
Oh, we'll hang out.
Yeah.
I always feel like if the U.S. actually faces any problem, they are just going to like take Canada, like annex us and be like, okay, all your stuff is ours now.
I would have said that.
I think you're right, Melly. I'm very worried about that. I'm very worried about
you guys literally burned our house down. Last time we fought.
Dude, but that was 1812.
Yeah, but we remember.
And those were the British, by the way.
Burnt.
Yeah, we don't fight on behalf of the British anymore, that's for sure.
We fought the British in a straight fight, just us versus them. We did fine. When you guys were
Damn
involved,
straight.
we got our castle burned. We're not anxious to try that again. Good fight. We'll call it squaresies.
If you want to take the argument that Canada would win in a war against the U.S., I will happily take the opposite side.
Pin in that because I have specifics I will go into, but obsessive audio, I'd like to give
It's
other.
funny because I've argued your side before just for fun.
Until Ukraine, you had the best sniper on planet Earth, but Obsessive Audio, thank you for swinging by. I will see you next time.
Cheers.
I'm sorry, I have the worst timing. Like you start to like sign someone off, and then I think of something to say, and I just say it. I don't even think.
No, I'm just your co-host is a big fat dork. I'm gonna stumble through things and just rely on you to carry us with charisma, man.
I can just blame everything on lag. It's all just lag.
Oh yeah, that's a, what do you call it? A pitfall of the internet. I'm going to leave this up to you. Should we try to get Donald Trump back on here, or Donald James? They've both been waiting for a while.
Well, I was going to say keep Obsessive on and then bring everyone else back, like, because that's what it was before.
You're right. Here's the problem: is I binge watch Matt Binder, and he does it one guest at a time, and I keep
boring.
Just doing that.
There's no we need a petri dish.
Yeah. Well, what we really need is I need to shirk my responsibilities, ironically, onto Process, who is let me look. What's the word? Competent, and we'll get there. When this thing's making money, we'll. All right. How about this? I put everybody that's here on screen: Don James, Donald Trump, wireless mic. How's that?
Okay. Also, worst case scenario, I sent you that. You said something about the John Galt stream that kind of puzzled me, because they're always having debates on there and stuff like that. Do you mind if I leak the one thing you said after?
Because I don't remember. Yeah.
You said, I'm just interested in talking rather to people who believe this stuff rather than people who are selling snake oil. I wasn't sure if you meant John Galt, because I don't think they're selling snake oil.
I don't remember who John Galt is. You guys were pitching a lot of people I would like to talk to be clear. And I'm incredibly grateful for.
Oh, no. Okay. Names. So the value of this isn't for you to debate. The value of this is that it's like a 24/7 kind of open panel thing that you can just join even without like much clout. And there's a lot of Trump fans on there. And they're pretty cordial overall. Like, they're worth talking to. It's kind of like it's a black conservative majority.
I would love to talk to that crowd. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna hop on the show like raw then and see if we can get some content out of that.
Yeah, message me when you do, just to see if I'm free, because I'll totally join you.
Oh, hell yeah.
They love me there, it seems.
Well, that's not a surprise. You in every community you've been in, I've noticed that people recall you and enjoy your company, and this one included, and especially.
It's so different from like the post-debate kind of like panel hoggers and commentary community, the people who all orbit Destiny and just like they kind of, they're always on the big shows, but they don't have much to say. And it's, I think that there's a huge difference between the people who feel entitled to those spaces versus the people, because then I have no value to them, right? Versus we're doing this like with our heart in our sleeves. And so people immediately recognize like my Fox Furby is both silly, but also, me being myself in a way.
Yeah, it's a personalized kind of goofy. It works, it's disarming. And that's kind of the core of what I was trying to say in that comment. Like, I understand there's people that do it for a living and they're going to have different motivations. I want to talk to people about their sincerely held beliefs, because it's I'm not even at the stage where I want to convince them yet. I just want to understand them, because there's people in my country right now who are willing to do some very drastic things because they believe in a different reality than I think we are in. And one of us has to be wrong. And I got to figure out, is it me or is it them?
Well, it could be both. There's actually a higher likelihood it's both because of the amount of entropy in the universe, the amount of degrees of freedom, right? So, but yeah, and like even for me, it's not about convincing people, even though it might sound like I'm trying to do that. more about like making them second guess what
Yeah.
what I think is like too strongly of a held belief. Like, dude, I would not be as confident about your position if I was in your shoes, kind of thing. Just because, like, I feel like as someone with a lot of mental disabilities and who's had like a questionable childhood, I have no choice but to think critically. Because if I took like all the advice I was handed to me and tried to just roll with it every time, then if I didn't make it, I'm a total failure. I deserve to die, kind of thing. That would be way too hard on me. I had to eventually figure out, okay, this person's saying one thing, which contradicts with the advice this other person's giving me. Which one of these people actually knows what the hell they're talking about, sort of thing. And then I had to like start to discern within myself, like, okay, am I actually a failure or are these people just wrong? Because I'm trying my damn hardest. So
yeah. I have no answer for you other than to
I'm saying like I have my own answers because I don't have the luxury of not thinking critically about a lot of situations.
Fair.
I'd be dead if I didn't, because either the suicide or the the wrong turns would have consumed me.
I mean, the end result of however you got here is fantastic. And I'm sorry if the process of forging Melanie Cosmic Fox hurt.
Oh, I'm sorry I didn't mean to trauma dump. I just
no, but I'm just saying, like, I can callously appreciate the end result, which is a wonderful person that I enjoy hanging out with.
I just see a lot of people who for them it's like, I want to believe this thing, so I do. It's like, how can you do that?
Yeah.
In what world?
Yeah, that's what I gotta get to. That I feel called to figure that out.
I don't have that luxury. I have a right to resent them. Okay.
Yes. No, that's very important. And there's a reason I started these things with Andrea, and I'm going to ask her to come back for more. One very important element that I feel needs to be part of this is the voice who is willing to be not willing, but the voice who is righteously angry. Because I do think that a lot of harm is being done by people who are essentially LARPing instead of participating in politics. And I don't think we will be taken as honest, you and I, if we are nothing but nice.
I mean, I feel outed all of a sudden because I don't really participate in politics. It's more because of like my social anxiety and stuff, though. But
no, but I mean, when they have a political opinion, they don't actually have a political opinion. They're just memorizing right-wing lore.
Right.
You know?
Okay. I see what you're saying.
They have no interest in whether it's true or not. That's my suspicion. I'd love to find out I'm wrong, but that's my suspicion. So I like
nuanced for sure. It's not always the case.
I basically have a tough friend who I call in and be like, all right, you know what? You made me angry, so you're getting Andrea. Come here. And then let's bring the rest of the gang up here and see if we can disagree. Obsessive Audio's back, redeeming me. We're getting everybody on here, including Wireless Mike, Donald James X, and Donald Trump, 45th president.
All right, motherfuckers, I'm back. I'm coming through for my campaign stop in Michigan, where I have a town hall scheduled with Fox News today.
What the fuck have I gotten myself into?
Hey, man, we can party. Let's go.
Let's go. Let's go, motherfuckers.
Let's go.
Yeah, let's party. You're in Michigan, are you?
Hell yeah. I'm in, let's see. I'm in northern Michigan.
Can you like dox yourself for us? Like what hotel room?
I'm in the Grand Hotel, Mackinac Island.
Oh, he can't escape by car, but no, it's we'd have to go across a whole bridge. It's not worth it. Well, is there anything we think we can find that we disagree on? Does anybody have any strong opinions? Maybe about somebody that should be uncanceled. That was the suggested topic of the night, but we'll take any, frankly.
I feel like Donald Trump thinks he needs to be uncanceled.
Let's see. You're damn right, and I have a list of cancellations that I will have everybody canceled. Here goes. Let's
Okay,
see.
wait. Donald Trump, let's give you the full 2 minutes 30. Who wants to debate whether Donald Trump should be uncanceled?
I
Mike,
can't.
Raise your hand. Who wants to go?
What
down?
should I say? You want me to argue that he should stay canceled or what? He's never been canceled. He won't shut
that's
the
my
fuck
thought.
up.
I don't think
There's
he's,
So
no-
he's
there's
going to
no
have a
debate.
list, and he's going to have a list of people to uncancel, and you're going to have to argue that at least one of the
You
people
mean
on the list should
cancel.
remain canceled.
Oh no!
Oh no! Okay, so
Conservative
he has a
voices
list of
are
people
being
who
silenced.
should. Yeah, he has a list of people who should be canceled, and you have to argue that
Okay.
at least one of them shouldn't be canceled.
I'm
All
just
right.
gonna say yes or no.
How about this? Wireless. Oh wait, Don James X. I keep saying the YouTube handle. Don James versus Don Trump.
That's a
Let's
good one.
get it on.
On the cancel list, and
I might get a bit
Don
confused.
James. It's going to be incredibly confusing, but I think it'll be a little bit funny. So let's.
Especially because Donald Trump's middle name is James.
I'll be Hulk Hogan and
middle
referee
name-
this whole thing.
Excuse
How's
me,
that?
can I talk, please? And my middle name
yes, you
is
can
John.
for 2 minutes and 30 seconds, starting
it?
shortly. I'm going to get everybody off the screen, but our 2 contestants. Stay on.
Get out of
folks.
here. Let me debate.
Mike, good to see you. You'll be back in a bit.
All right.
And
Let's
it's
go.
just y'all. 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Donald Trump first. Please tell us about your list of people that should be canceled for 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay, let's see. Since y'all been calling me asshats and y'all been calling me Russian propagandists, let's see who will be canceling TYT. We'll be canceling Dr. Seuss. We will be canceling MTV. We'll be canceling News Nation, NBC, CBS, ABC. We'll be canceling the. We'll be canceling. Who else will be canceling? Oh yeah, we'll be canceling all the woke teams of the MLB and the NFL and the MLB. We will be canceling the World Series. We'll cancel Jesse Waters. We'll cancel Mr. Potato Head, Dr. Seuss, Legos, the Xbox. What are you laughing at? Stop laughing. That's not funny. And we'll cancel anyone, but no, I'm not canceling student debt. I'm not canceling student debt. Let's see. We'll cancel AI and we'll cancel all the AI foxes. We'll cancel rock and roll. We'll cancel guitar solos. We'll cancel Burger King. We will cancel renaming of streets and roads and bridges and highways and all the things that used to be standing for the generals of the Confederates, which were very respectful. And we will cancel those who hate Christianity. We will also cancel things that do not stand up to MAGA standards. For example, pornography and abortions and rape and incest. We will also cancel nudity. We will not allow nudity in MAGA land. So, therefore, that is my entire list of cancellations. What the hell do you want to say, buddy? Go ahead. I'm
All right,
waiting.
Okay.
Donald James X. Just to before you give your counterpoint, I'd like to keep trying with this format a little bit, and it's going to be difficult for you. Can you, in no more than 30 seconds, basically recap what he was saying? You don't have to go down all the names, but just recap what he was arguing for there.
Well, it was a long list. I mean, I can't remember everything he said. So if he I got an idea though. If he wants to
What
name
is
them
it?
name them off one by one, and I'll say, "You're crazy."
I'm not
cancel
crazy.
them. Yeah, you are. You're goddamn nuts. In fact, you're
Fuck you,
suicidal.
man.
You're
Fuck you, then.
suicidal. I believe that you're going to lose on November 5th, and
Bullshit.
you're going to be. Anyways, to recap what he was saying, can he name off what was on the list one by one, really quick, like again, and I'll give him an answer.
Okay, we're gonna one by one. Let's see. I said Dr. Seuss. I said
Do not cancel.
Mr. Potato Head.
That one's iffy. Keep going.
Legos.
Definitely don't cancel Legos. Oh hell no.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll. Well,
why is there any hesitation?
Well, because I was going to say metal. Maybe, but no, rock and roll definitely not. Classic rock and roll rules. So no cancel.
Wow. I see we have a bunch of woke motherfuckers.
That's true.
Come on, let's go. We're on the clock.
The clock has expired.
Oh, did it?
Oh, not at all. I just thought the format doesn't necessarily work for this conversation.
Okay.
As I'm finding is true of most conversations. But it was interesting. So basically, if I could, Mr. Trump, it's why any of these? Why do you want to cancel Legos, for example? What's going on there?
Why? Because they were made from China. That's why. It's so damn simple. Could you not read the words "made in China"?
Where are Legos made? Apparently, they're made in several locations around the world, including Denmark, Hungary, Mexico, China, and the Czech Republic.
Wait a minute. Mexico makes Legos too. The illegal aliens make Legos. Oh my God, I forgot
they
about
make them
that.
in Mexico. Where are they not illegal aliens in your mind?
Let's see. I have them memorized. Where do you think you have them memorized?
I don't know. Okay.
I think he's sundowning, if I'm honest.
But can I just say that Donald?
Excuse me, who's the Sandy Fitzgerald person? Is she woke?
Who's the sound effects person?
No, who is this Annie Fitzgerald person? Is she woke?
Yeah, you know what? Let's take a quick pause.
And she's not going to get canceled. You're going to get canceled before she does.
Annie, I would love to visit your stream next week. If you have, by the way, Annie Fitzgerald, a link for us to send people to donate to your campaign, guys. She's running in Washington's 38th district, I believe. She's running for a district in Washington to be a representative, and I adore her. I would love to pop that in the chat. Anyway, Melanie Cosmic Fox is going to judge this debate. I don't feel qualified to, but I admire how you did. Let's put her up here. Melanie, how do you feel like they did?
Well, first of all, I got to get through the obvious position that any debate judge should have. Mr. Trump, flawless as usual. You did nothing wrong.
Yeah, that's a lie.
Oh, okay. My bad. I kind of want to debate him on that now, but...
You really want to debate me? Bring it on, son of a bitch. Let's go.
Let's keep it to one at a time.
And Don James, I think Jake really came in to show you how it's done when he actually asked Donald Trump to substantiate one of his positions I guess the things that he wanted canceled. You probably should have done more of that.
He was bringing up. I mean, he had a whole list. I mean, you got
right, but that's right.
He's gonna do a whole list. You gotta like address it one by one. You know what I mean?
Now let me clarify. I agree with with what Melanie's saying as far as a debate goes. As far as a comedy bit goes, though, you made the correct decision.
I mean,
which this very much also is.
I think I would have been super funny if it was me, but just because I know how to throw people off, so
Fair enough. I also discovered I have old dry meat on my
What do you have
flashing knife.
discovered?
you didn't need to tell us that.
Yeah,
Is
but,
it beef
you know,
jerky?
it's
I think it's human
fake.
meat.
It's fake
It's a-
Swedish meatball. Actually, it's not even real meat. It's just gross plant.
Ugh.
I didn't have any clean proper knives.
Okay.
Spearing them and eating them out.
I like
of the
Stouffer's.
thing.
I like Stouffer's Swedish meatballs.
What? Donald Trump was my friend Looney Tunes 9000 the whole time. Son of a gun.
Dang it. Should have known.
I have respect for anyone who can go for 2.5 minutes pulling list items for what to cancel out of their ass. Like
That was good.
that's not easy.
Oh, he's got a list. He had a list.
No,
Yeah.
I've legit I've done acting class before, and maybe because I was a kid, but it would have been a challenge for us to do 30 seconds.
I'm trying to find the Discord of us talking, Mel, and I'm sorry. I got it. All right. Got it. All right. Never mind.
Am I in trouble? Are you telling me that I did something wrong?
Nope. It was going off repeatedly, and it was not you. Never mind. I thought you were trying to get my attention desperately, but you weren't.
Oh yeah, no, I'm
As
not
is
like
always
that.
true of when I think pretty gals are trying to talk to me. They weren't.
The funny thing is I had my phase, right, where I was overly confident, and I felt entitled to be on every panel space. So I would harass people let me on. This person's wrong. I can tell them exactly why they're wrong. I have all these points listed up and everything, and they'd be like, just you're annoying. No.
Oh, debate me.
That I'd have to say, man,
I can't debate you without laughing. I couldn't even pretend I'm serious.
it was a sincerely good impression.
CD. That stands for what you can do. My name is Jake.
Also a pretty
You
good
can do that
impression,
voice
if I'm honest.
too. That's really cool.
I was doing Jake's impersonation. I was doing a Jake
Oh, okay.
impersonation.
I thought that was the Jar Jar Binks voice.
That's basically the same thing. Well, LT9K, I appreciate the performance. Thank you for stopping by. We are going to bring up some of the old guests and some of the new. I suspect
I still have a claim that I wanted to present as for an argument.
yeah,
Jake,
go for it.
you're okay. First of all, bring everyone else in first before he makes his claim, so they can all respond.
All
And
right,
Jake,
right.
I feel like I need to
I think we
actually
should
you
listen
asked
to
if I wanted to host, and I said yes to both. So it's
If I were able to give you control of this, if I had the ability, I would do it desperately. I cannot tell you how ill-suited
the problem is
I
you're
am.
not deferring to me. You're not like Melanie. What do I do next?
Okay, that's what I'm doing now. Then so have everybody up, and then
I'm sure he's never heard that one before.
Okay, so Melanie would be she's a good
God
moderator here.
He got me good. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
definitely.
Just gotta sit in it for a moment.
I'm being half
Oh.
serious because I am coming from a point of experience, and I have
No,
a
that's-
feeling I know what will kind of
So is
get gears,
Jake.
or at least
Well,
lube
Would
up.
he be a good C-SPAN moderator for the next presidential debate?
I feel like there's no
Yes,
funny
no,
way to
you're
answer
quite
that
correct.
question.
You were saying Don James X. Please make your point.
Okay, I am a progressive who believes in the death penalty. Always have. Ask yourself this question, real quick before I make my claim: is as one of the prime values of being a progressive is justice, right? If you're thinking yes in your head that yes, justice, systemic justice, all just justice in general is a core value of being a progressive. Nobody's going to argue that. Well, I claim that in certain cases where there's no doubt that death penalty should be implemented, in some cases, now the next question you're probably gonna think, well, who decides? Who decides this? You know what I mean? And I was always of the belief that it should be the family of the victim should have the final say. If
I could tell you already, I desperately want to jump in on this. We have sincere disagreement, and I've been waiting since maybe the first time we talked for us to sincerely disagree on something.
Okay. So do you want to try that? I'll moderate just to make sure. And I'm not, trust me, I'm not just trying to get in, because I feel like that this is something that could get a tiny bit heated. And
yeah, so far, the only thing I disagree with is the whole family judging thing, because that could go. I mean, that's you know.
There was a good movie about something like that.
Oh, I'm gonna.
Like a horror movie. It was cool.
I believe there should be a grace period. You know, a grace period where a family, who knows how long. We could debate that. But there should be grace period.
No. And I want to do the core debate. I want to talk to you, Don James, about should there be a death penalty, yay or nay? And I say let's do the traditional, like the standard boring format, 2:30 each. See what we've got to say. I do want to see if the format works, but mostly I just want to have this conversation with you. Do I have everybody's blessing?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, sure.
Aye.
I'm putting Melanie in charge. Melanie, when wait. Ah, there we go.
So just make sure you have your timer ready, because we're gonna get to that really quick.
Okay.
So
I
think we're in agreement. Don James is essentially taking an affirmative for the death penalty here. So Don James should go first with their opening statement, and then Jake's. Is everyone cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So start the timer, and Don James, tell us what you think. We cannot hear you.
I'm sorry.
All good.
Okay.
No, we're starting from 2:30 again. No worries, brother. There you go.
Okay, to continue what I was saying, I believe the family is
Could you start again, just so that way we all are super succinct about your positions?
Okay, so I'm a progressive who believes in the death penalty because I believe one of the core values of being a progressive is justice. Okay, now when the death penalty it gets implemented in a case, you know, I believe that once there's no doubt, once a case has been tried and the jury finds you guilty, right? And first it has to make the requirements that he's eligible for the death penalty, right? And once all those requirements are met and the jury says he's guilty and the death penalty could be implemented there, I think the final say should go to the family. The family of the victims should be the one, because to them that could be what justice is to them. That's what they can feel is, look, because if you give the option to the family of the victims, they could opt to say no, don't give that person the death penalty. But some might, though. Some might. Yes, I believe it's justice. It feels like justice. So I believe it should be up to the family to decide. I'm aware of, everybody's aware of the systemic problems, and so I'm saying in a justice system that's really just and is fair. I know it's hard to imagine, but in a case that there's no doubt and there's no bias there whatsoever, that's when the family should make that decision, to go ahead with it or not, Now, like in what happened recently with Marcellus, of course not. You don't want, because there's too much doubt there. With all
Just
that
to
doubt,
let you know, you have 20 seconds.
Thank you. And so, there's too much doubt there. But I'm talking about in cases that there are no doubt, and there's no question at all that final say should be left to the families of victims.
Okay, sorry, I feel bad. I should have told you more around like 45 seconds or something, but
no, I can see the time. I'm looking at the time. So,
okay,
yeah.
If I could, I'd like to try to summarize what I think I heard to make sure I'm correct. I will take no more than 30 seconds.
Okay.
So
Are you still planning? Can I just ask? Are you still planning on doing an intro statement as well, or are we just going to get into it afterwards?
No, I'm going to do a 2:30 intro to state my case as well. But
Alrighty.
First, I want to, because I may not have understood. So, if I heard correctly, you're saying that the death penalty should be an acceptable option for progressives to consider, for anybody to consider. Assuming that there is no doubt, a jury has decided, and importantly, that the family of the victim consents, or if they're surviving, the victim themselves consent. Is that correct?
I would say that's mostly correct. What else?
And did I miss anything, or can you correct it more for me to be more accurate?
No, you didn't say anything inaccurate. It's pretty much it. But I think there's a broader point for you to make within that 30 seconds. But you pretty much got everything. Yeah, I think it was on point.
Okay. Then I shall take a whack at my stance. I have to admit, it was interesting that you included the families of the victim in that. All right. May I begin, Melanie?
Oh, of course. Just you seem to be on a roll, so I didn't want to.
Oh, fair enough. No, I'm. Let's cook. You said when there's no doubt. People are convicted when there's no reasonable doubt, but that's not the same thing as no doubt at all. And in fact, Texas was mentioned by Debbie earlier. Why does Texas destroy all of the evidence related to a death penalty case after the death penalty is carried out? It's because many times we find much, much later, much after we've done something that cannot be undone, that in fact they had the wrong person. There's two issues you face here that you do not face with life imprisonment. Life imprisonment, number one, can end at any moment when new evidence comes to light. Once upon a time, DNA testing was not a thing. Now it is. Tons of people got exonerated. Who knows what the next breakthrough will provide in terms of evidence? You can allow somebody to go at any moment if it's discovered that they are free, or if it's discovered that they are innocent and should be free. You can't do that with the death penalty. You can't unkill somebody. The other issue is that you are saying that such a circumstance exists that the state can murder someone. It might be a righteous murder, but it is that. It's killing someone who is helpless. Might be someone who is not deserving of kindness, but it's not for their sake that we should have no death penalty. It's on general principle. I am of the belief that we should say the death penalty, the state's ability to kill its own citizens should be taken away entirely. It simply should not exist. I'm going to give you a third reason that we shouldn't have the death penalty, and that is brutalizing the citizenry. In countries where the citizens are treated more harshly, they behave harshly, and it actually has an opposite effect. It doesn't make us safer to have the death penalty. It just means that there's one more group that can kill us.
Okay, and I believe, Jake, do you necessarily want Don James to summarize your point, right?
Yeah, in 30 seconds, try to summarize what I said in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. Just broad strokes. It doesn't have to be exact.
Well, I got to remember what was your first point?
My first point is is that you don't, and this is good, by the way. I think we should be able to pause the 30 seconds and ask questions. My first point was that you can't unkill somebody. So evidence could later be found, even if there was no reasonable doubt at the time. Reasonable doubt can crop up later after the conviction.
Okay, for the first point, that's why I said maybe a grace period or statute of limitations, maybe. I mean, but yeah, 50 years later, all of a sudden you can find some evidence or something like that. That's why I'm saying there should be no doubt in cases. If there's any,
right. Just a reminder that you are trying to summarize his point, not refute them yet, right?
Yep. You'll have a chance to refute in a moment, but just summarize what I was saying.
You're right. Thank you, Melanie. You're absolutely right. So you're saying that that because of the time, for your first point, you're saying that there's all evidence could always show up like later, like years later.
Yeah.
Is that right? So because there's doubt there in your first point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And your second point was, can you just, I'm sorry. Can you summarize your second point?
Yeah, my second point was that the state should not be given permission to kill its citizens at all, on general principle. We must draw the line somewhere, and I say draw it at never. Never should the state be allowed to kill its own citizens.
Okay, so when you say state, you mean like the courts,
government,
the government of that state. Okay. Okay. So and your third point.
Third point was smaller. I just said it's a brutal society we're choosing to live in if we allow the death penalty, and it makes. I'm of the belief, and I can't prove it, but I'm of the belief that it makes all of its citizens more brutal, and we should strive not to be that.
Okay, so first point is the time factor. Second point,
first point is that we might be wrong and we can't undo a death. Second point was that we should not allow the government in any scenario to kill its own citizens. We should simply say that's taboo and is not allowed. Third point is that it brutalizes citizens.
Can we try maybe having Don James try to summarize again at the end after he talks through this a bit, just because it's my theory that it's actually easier to do this after you get to kind of know the person's arguments a bit better.
Yeah, I'm just trying to be absolutely clear here if I'm going to summarize this point. So you're saying the time factor, the state itself, and you're saying that it's going to make society more brutal.
On that first point, I'm not saying time so much as I'm saying we might be wrong. I'm saying that you
can't unkill somebody is kind of what he was saying. I think summarizes the best.
Yeah, exactly. And that beyond a reasonable doubt is not to say no doubt at all. You phrased it as when there's no doubt, but the actual scenario required to convict somebody is beyond a reasonable doubt. But the thing is, in my opinion, there are unreasonable doubts which turn out to be true, and it's happened before, and we found that we've killed innocent people. I don't think that's a risk worth I'm making a new point, actually, now when I say it's not a risk worth taking. What I was saying is there's such a thing as unreasonable doubts which turn out to be true. Want to just go to the second section? If I didn't make my own point.
No, okay, you're clear. I understand.
Fair.
So there you go. It's done.
Jake, all I'm going to say as a moderator is at some point we need to talk about debate flow and how to maintain it. That's because this is charming, but it's also I don't think it's sustainable to keep like the flow of the conversation. So let's do a 1v1. Jake, if you wanted to go through, just do your 3 points one more time, quickly summarize yourself them in 30 seconds. You don't even have to give yourself a timer. And then if Don James wants to pick out what he wants to respond to, then we can get the discussion going from there.
Okay, 3 points real quick. You can unkill somebody. So if evidence crops up later that exonerates them, which does happen sometimes, you can let them go, and you don't. There's no blood on your hands as the state. Thing number 2 being the government simply should not have any scenario, in my opinion, where it is allowed to kill its own citizens. And thing number 3 is it makes us a more brutal society to accept death as a punishment. Death is, in my opinion, the ultimate enemy we should all be fighting against.
Okay. So for your first point, that's why I'm saying, look, there has to be a statute of limitations, right? Or a grace period, you know? How long that can be, who knows? You know what I mean?
When you say that, what do you mean? Like a time between the conviction and the sentence carried out?
Yeah, I mean, when they actually close a case. You know what I mean? And so, you know, people stay on death penalty, you know, on Skid Row for years and years, you know, but as long as the investigation continues, you know, because I don't know, but once a jury finds you guilty, you know what I mean?
Well, what's the grace period? Is that referring to time after the jury finds you guilty?
Right.
So just a reminder, Jake's real contention was that it's an unreversible action, whereas if we keep them in as life sentence,
it is an unreversible action. But you know, what about the victims? You can't undo that either. You can't undo the victims. And if there's clear evidence, there's no doubt that a jury convicts you. Okay, you got the heart for your second point about the just so I can change up here real quick. The second point on the state killing that person out, but it wouldn't be the state. It wouldn't be the state killing, but it would be on the decision of the family. So the family would be the ones going forward with the death penalty. You know what I'm saying? Not the state.
But the state makes it possible. Even if the family is given a gun and pulls the trigger in a room, the state builds the room, invites the family, disarms the next victim.
But okay, that's fine. But it's not the state making the decision.
How not?
Well, because the family is the one that will consent to it. But yes, guilty, death penalties on the table. The family contemplates it, and then the family decides together that yes, I think it's this person that did a horrible thing to my child or whoever the victim is. You know, I don't want to. I believe he shouldn't be on here. But when you give people that choice, you give the family that choice, I wouldn't doubt it. Many of the families say no, let him live. You see what I mean?
I'll say this. You bring up an interesting point. I don't necessarily agree that the state doesn't bear the responsibility there, but you do if the state makes an offer okay, we're confident this person did this thing, we'll keep them in prison for the rest of their lives, or if you'd like, you can kill them. That's interesting to me. That's novel. I hadn't considered that as an option. My gut instinct here and now is that I'm still against it because I still believe that first thing, that we are often, especially in a country of 330 million people, we are often wrong. And if there's a 1 in a million thing that happens in somebody's lifetime, it happens 330 times a day in the United States.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where I'd want it addressed, is how do you deal with that?
Yeah, but okay, so once a case is finalized, you know, and time and the book is shut on that case, and it's already been a guilty, and then he's found guilty, first-degree murder or whatever the charge is, and then there's nothing more after that. You know what I mean? I mean, how long does a case go on for the rest of that person's life?
Until they get a conviction.
Yeah, I
Generally.
know. Okay. Well, yeah, right. If somebody gets convicted, then you know what I mean? If you get convicted of murder by a jury,
well,
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe 10 years.
But we have had people who were convicted and the jury was certain and the prosecutors were certain. And then 20, 30 years later, we find out, oh, actually, no, it wasn't them. And the state has admitted, yeah, we were wrong. We thought for sure it was them. It wasn't them. How do you account for that?
And Don, before you answer, I just want to point out and get an answer from both of you. We're approximately 5 minutes in. I wasn't keeping exact track.
I'm having too much fun.
Yeah, but by my best estimation, we're 5 minutes in. Do you guys want to go for another 5 minutes, or do you want to wrap this up?
I do. I'm enjoying it.
And
Okay.
Don?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do another 5 minutes right now. Don, if you need Jake to re-ask the question because I interrupted, I totally understand.
Go ahead, Jake.
I was just asking. We have found people innocent. That we have found out for a fact that people who were convicted with a high degree of confidence were later found to be innocent, like 20, 30 years later. How do you account for that? What do you do with that knowledge when you apply it to a system where we could kill somebody after 10 years after they were convicted, 15 years, or however long you say, add a year onto it, and imagine we find out the next year that the person was innocent.
That's true. That's a good point. But I'm talking about cases that there's no doubt. You know what I mean?
There's been plenty. All death penalty cases, really. I mean, if you ask the jury who convicts somebody to die, they'll say, I had no doubt whatsoever. And a handful of times we find out, no, we killed an innocent person.
All right. Well, now you make a good point. I just want to know how prevalent and how often that happens. It happens all the time. I know it happens all the time. I guess.
And let's say it doesn't. Let's say it happens 1 in 1,000 times. The question then becomes:
okay,
is there any number of rarity that is acceptable to you in that regard? Because to me, I think if it happened once in history and we killed 100 people a day, but one time we killed an innocent person, that's too much for me.
No, it makes it. You make a good point right there, and all I can say is that I guess with my debate thesis here. I guess I'm coming at it from an angle where we have a really good, perfect justice system. I'm talking about like a justice system that's just. So I guess. But we don't. So I kind of blows up my whole argument in a sense because we don't have a.
But hypothetically, I'm okay with the hypothetical argument.
It's hypothetical. That's what I'm trying to do here. Is a hypothetical where there is no doubt. I mean, there's cases out there where there's no doubt. I'm sure there's no doubt.
That might be interesting if you could find one and then come back to us so we could discuss it further. Don James, are you happy with kind of leaving the discussion here then so that we can maybe think over this? Because we've got some feisty guests who want in.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's something that I will think about. It was a good discussion.
I gotta say,
you make a good point.
Right back at you. I hadn't considered that it could be possible to take the decision and the actual decision of somebody's death out of the state's hands and put it into the victim's hands. I need to think about it for a while. I don't know how I feel about that, but it's an interesting thought. And I thought there wasn't any new way for me to think about this. Turns out there is. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. So let me say one more thing here. Because of the justice system the way it is, okay, I guess I have to say that I'm not for the death penalty because we all know how the system is and stuff like that. So I'm not for the death penalty. This whole debate was a hypothetical.
Fair enough.
It was a hypothetical, because of course I'm not going to be in favor of death penalty in cases there's too much doubt. No, it's too much doubt. Okay.
Fair. Let's let the gang back in. I'm going to give LT9K a little grace because I think he's away from the camera right now. But I also want to announce we're joined by Annie Fitzgerald. Hey, Annie,
Hello,
how
Annie.
you doing?
Welcome.
Hello, Annie.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Having fun.
Caught a little of your stream earlier. I'm glad to see it was up and running, and I'm sorry I got banned in your chat.
Yeah, I guess I didn't recognize your tag, and then my mod kind of jumped on that. So.
They were totally right. It's not the first time I have been mistaken for a robot. That means they're a good mod.
You had banned?
Oh yeah, like immediately. And here's the thing: I consciously thought, "Oh, I'm going to sound a little weird. I better play this normal and casual, like." Tap, 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 tap. You're out. Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
I was. Yeah, my mom was like, it's like,
Hi,
do
Annie.
you know this person? Hello. Yeah, he was like, do you know this person? And I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, let him back in. So, but yeah, we streamed for like 5 hours.
Heck yeah, that's a hell of an inaugural stream there. Do you have a link for people to donate to your campaign yet?
I think Pink already posted it, didn't she?
Oh.
Biggerbell, did you post the link to her campaign site?
I'm scrolling. Ooh, there's a guy. PBB victim number 478. Incidentally, says there's a guy that's going to come in here. His name is Poormaxer. He's going to try to get on your panel. He's
I've heard of
restreaming
him.
you.
Let's
Ooh.
Yeah, I
And he's
saw
a
that.
registered pedo. Well, he's welcome to restream, but I don't believe I'll be letting him in because I don't want to see gross.
For some
Okay.
reason, the South Park Mambla episode just popped into my head.
I was reading your comments when I was doing Trump.
Oh,
okay.
I was reading your comments when I was doing Trump, and here's one of them.
PBB victim.
They couldn't cancel the amazing hair. They tried. Obsessive audio says.
Oh, well, here's the deal, gang. I have replaced the link to come on the stream, at least for the time being, with Annie's donation link. If y'all are watching on YouTube, Annie Fitzgerald is good people, and she's running to be a state. Am I correct in saying state representative in Washington?
Yes, and you even got the district right. It is District 38. And that covers Everett, Marysville, and Tulalip Reservation.
Well, if you want decent human beings to have power instead of our current lot of ne'er-do-wells, consider donating to Annie's campaign. Links.
Don't consider nuts.
Whatever, Trump.
Looney,
Let's
we
make
can
this-
see you.
Yeah.
Let's see you.
Melanie is going to be angry, so I'm going to ask for permission because I have a wild idea that I want to try randomly live. Melanie, can I throw something at you?
Oh yeah, no. It's just I feel like you break up the flow at the beginning of the debate with the thing you do. I don't care about random shit.
Oh, then what do you say to doing a sudden death thing? We got a lot of folks joining us, and I want it to be dramatic. So
Oh Lord, here we go.
Like you mean backstage? There's a lot of people
Oh.
backstage.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I
on
got a
screen right
backstage
now.
pass.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to.
We need to find something that there's a lot of
death.
disagreement on. Is the problem?
Good
Marcus
point.
Aurelius? What is this?
Then I'll bear it in mind for later. Any wireless mic, anybody who hasn't had a chance to pitch something yet, is there something in particular you wanted to talk about?
I did actually want to make a couple of points on the previous discussion that you and James had.
Ooh, hit me.
One of them being when I said that I was initially against the idea of the family making the decision. The reason I say that is because there's a difference between justice and vengeance. And in some cases, you're going to have very religious families who are probably going to be like, no, we forgive him and we wouldn't want to do that. And the guilty party might get a second chance. They're still going to spend life in prison, but they won't be put to death. You're also going to end up inevitably with people who are, no matter what the case may be, they're going to want the bloodiest, most painful death possible. And they're going to go out of their way to try to ensure that happens. I don't think that parties involved who are victimized should be the ones making the decision in that. They do death penalty, but I think that it should be very, very rare, and only in the instances that it can be actually proven without a doubt. For instance, when you have a situation where, say, there's a mass shooter, and there's multiple angles of video of the person actually committing the crime in cold blood, there's no way to say, oh, he might be innocent. No, the fact is he did it. It's on camera, multiple cameras. It's very obvious they are. In that case, I'm not a believer in keeping somebody on death row for however many years, and is because it literally costs double to house someone on death row than it does to keep them in general population for life. Because of all the extra security, you've got them on suicide wealth. The expense to the state, to the city, to the community where this is taking place costs so much more than it does just to keep someone in prison to try to rehabilitate.
Wireless mic, I think your wireless is cutting out.
The irony.
Yeah, that's too bad.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, that
it cut
That's
out while
been
he was
happening.
apologizing.
speak on.
That's been happening a lot lately, and it didn't used to happen when we were on streams earlier. Is this an internet connection issue, or is it a Bluetooth
Yeah,
issue?
that tracks.
Well, son of a gun. I get what you were saying, though. I found it interesting. I have my own needling little points, but no, it's still an interesting point. I would float this out there. My issue with the family deciding, the first thing that comes to mind is, what if you combine a couple of bad scenarios? And what if the family decides, yeah, this person killed our beloved family member, kill them. And then the state carries out the execution, and then new evidence comes to light, and the person who was executed is found to be innocent. The trauma that adds to the family, I think, is a monstrosity that makes me shudder to consider.
Can I ask something?
Yes,
Sorry,
please do, Annie.
So, I don't think I honestly don't think there's ever a need or a case for the death penalty ever. It is often cruel and unusual, it can be painful and incredibly it can be like a very traumatic death. We do not have a perfect system for executions, and some states that still have executions are trying new things like nitrogen gas. So, I mean, I really I get the whole letting the family decide, but at the same time, putting that person to death is not going to change the circumstances. And in many cases, it's not going to bring them closure either. I feel like, if we're going to live in a humane society, then we need to abolish the death penalty. And
Excessive. We can hear you talking.
Sorry.
We need to abolish the death penalty. I also think that, so I studied criminal justice in college a long time ago. Because I'm ancient. So, I kind of learned all about police procedures and things like that. And I want people to understand that forensic science is not an exact science. In fact, some of the things that we used to think were ironclad evidence for or against somebody committing a crime have turned out to be less than reliable. So, there's a lot of people, there's quite a number, I don't have exact stats right in front of me, but there's quite a few people that are, sitting in prison right now for a crime that they didn't commit. There are plenty more Marcelluses out there. And I think what we need to do instead of using this brutal, cruel, inhumane form of punishment, instead get the families some help. Help them deal with their loss. Help them process the loss. Provide them with therapy. Provide them with any other services that they may need to help them with that loss.
If I may, though,
And then-
the question
Sure.
is about should the death penalty be allowed? There's nothing to say that
No.
in that scenario you wouldn't also help the families of the victims in other ways.
Yeah, and I wasn't talking about anything that would involve, forensic sciences going back and matching DNA and hair samples and who tracked footprints where and what time. I'm talking about cases where there is no doubt whatsoever. It is proof right there. Everyone can see it. This person stood in front of a camera and murdered multiple people.
But can you prove intentionality?
When someone walks into a Walmart and starts mowing people down with a weapon of war, they're not doing it by accident.
That reminds me, I've seen almost no mass shooters get the death penalty. Isn't that kind of interesting?
I know at least one.
Well, because in some of the states where it
not.
happens, yeah, in some of the states where they happen, I don't think the death penalty is even allowed, or it's because in many cases, a lot of these shooters were underage.
I think to Annie's point is that what
they're
we
less likely
currently-
to seek the death penalty for someone underage.
So what Annie was. If you want to go ahead, just speak for yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think
I'm
I lost
sorry.
you. Oh no, dude.
Well, I think we can at least extend it to kind of a psychological argument too, where what we know conventionally about human behavior now, that people do bad things because they're irreparably evil. It might turn out that someday it's no, they had a severe psychological illness, sure. It led to very awful things. Sure, we can't. That nothing's going to change that, but we could have helped them. That's what we can learn in the future, and so we don't need to just terminate these people.
Right. And here's the thing. I understand that, like, we have cameras everywhere nowadays, but to my knowledge and experience, the majority of cases where where violence crimes happen, it is not that clear. It is not that simple. And even if it is a situation where, somebody who is quite literally psychotic, and I mean that not in an ableist way, but I mean that in the, therapeutic way, walks into a Walmart,
To use an industry term, they're wackadoos.
Yes. Walks into a Walmart and shoots up the place. I still don't think that's okay to then turn around and take their life.
Not even for the safety of the public?
Lock them up. Lock them up.
People escape.
Lock them up. That doesn't
People
happen
escape.
that often.
People still influence. It happens more than
There's also botched executions, and that's an argument against executions, right? So people escape is the strongest argument.
The method of the execution can be argued, yes. And like I said, it should be very rare, but there are cases where certain people, not only should they not be allowed to be a part of society anymore because they pose a danger. We're also talking about the kind of influence that they pose on society as a whole. And I'll give you one example. The only example that comes to mind, honestly, that comes to mind right now, he didn't even commit the murders, but he influenced multiple people to do so. Charles Manson spent years in prison influencing psychopaths and sociopaths to visualize and fantasize about going out and committing the kind of shit that he wanted the world to devolve into. He wanted helter skelter. He wanted this massive race war that was going to be the end of society as we know it, so that white supremacists could take over and we could be basically where we're headed now with the whole Project 2025 thing, with a bunch of fascist white supremacists trying to control everything, only by starting a race war by framing the black community for a bunch of murders that he convinced some very disturbed people to do. Now, those people were convinced by a madman, but this man spent years constantly coming up for parole. If he weren't so whacked out in his head, he could have been paroled and released to go back out into the public and convince some more very easily influenced and duped people into doing even more heinous shit. There are cases where some individuals do not need.
Would Charles Manson be one of those people that you consider there to be enough evidence for a killing?
I use him as an example only because of how popular he was for so long and the damage that was done, and the damage he did to society by being allowed to do all of these interviews, continually be brought up for parole when it was pretty clear that the man was never going to be of mind or sound mind to be released to the public.
But would you consider him to be somebody with enough evidence to justify the killing him?
I don't think it would happen because he did not actually commit the murders. I'm just using him as an example of someone who is deranged enough that their mere existence after the fact and the possibility for them to come up for parole. I'm sorry.
So he deserves to die and be executed and removed from the earth.
No. I'm using him as an example of the kind of mentality that could be dangerous by allowing them to continue to go on. He necessarily does not, he didn't commit the murders. He didn't actually commit the crimes. So he would not have been charged for it. But I don't think that he should have been allowed contact with the public. I don't think he should have been allowed fan mail and correspondence with thousands of people who were diehard diehard followers of his. I don't think he should have been allowed to go up for parole multiple times when it was obvious that he was too disturbed to even
Well,
be
hold up.
a
The
part of society.
conversation of whether somebody should be up for parole is totally separate from whether they should get the death penalty. But Mike makes an interesting point, and I would love Don James's input here. It's something we didn't talk about in our conversation, Don. Somebody being too dangerous to hold. Does such a person exist in your mind?
No.
Being too dangerous to hold.
Yeah, like it's a danger to society just to keep them around in a prison cell. And I would have said no if you would have asked me at the beginning of this evening. But Mike brings up a good point. Charles Manson, Charles Manson, although he's not somebody who would be executed, I think, in any of our scenarios, he nonetheless in prison caused a lot of harm. Do you have any? Does that affect your argument?
You mean influence? You mean influence outside of prison?
He did, yeah, through mail correspondence and telephone calls and media interviews.
And there was other people killed because of it. I don't know.
I don't think so, but it was nonetheless an example of how somebody being held in a prison can still do harm.
It's a good argument, personally. Sorry to step in. It's a good argument, but my problem with it is that it's more of an argument against cults, because that's what Manson was. He was a cultist. He had a cult following, and that's how he got influence. And when Manson did have a cult, there wasn't that much research on cults at the time. There had been I think 2 schools that actually had researchers who were doing stuff on it. But after Manson, research on it exploded. And so we're much more vigilant for that kind of influence people have, and we'd probably be much more likely to cut it off at its roots, especially once they're in jail and we can control like their access to communication and stuff like that. So I think at the time that would have been a real concern. Now in 2024, maybe not so much. I don't see Tiger King causing a lot of stochastic terrorism.
I think also a lot of this comes from news media. We hear a lot more about some of these stories and circumstances on the news, and when in actuality, like things like violent crime are going down, et cetera, but we have crazy supermax prisons now. Like, I still don't think it's okay to take a life just because they took a life. There are ways to limit their communication. Like in Manson's case, they could have limited his communication with the outside world. But I'm also a psychology student right now, and one of the last psychology courses I took was about abnormal psychology. And when we were talking about a similar subject, and we were talking about the impact of isolation on humans, I feel like we have to be really careful, about limiting one's access. I'm not saying that Charles Manson should have been able to do those things. I'm just saying that,
I mean, I'm not too concerned about Manson's outcomes after that point. This is the point where I don't need him to die for justice, but I also I don't need justice for Manson, right? I realize that that goes against some prison justice narratives, but prison justice exists to help, in my opinion, the broader amount of people who deserve it for the reasons that you said. In abnormal psychology, we can't always determine, it's hard to say that people are just evil, for example, right? They've often been isolated. They often don't have normal childhood growing up. They've had traumatic experiences, stuff like that. Not always the case, but usually we can explain these things with more human reasons rather than just, oh, good and evil, right? Which is an absolute. And I think my biggest problem with the death penalty is that like it assumes that there's something about humanity that we can only kind of like excise. The only way to deal with it is just by getting rid of it. And that's been such a problematic philosophy whenever it's been used for anything else in history. I don't think there's been anything in history that's like, I don't like this thing. The only way to fix it is to get rid of it entirely. No, that just leads to much worse outcomes.
Okay, example. Someone who has no qualms with brutally raping and murdering a child. Sorry, hate to say that on the stream and risk any kind of pulling, but you got to think in these terms. There are people out there who enjoy that kind of crazy, deranged shit. You think that that we should go out of our way to try to rehabilitate this kind of person, or should we protect the public, A, and possibly maybe even be putting this person out of their own misery that has driven them to such depraved madness?
See, here's my problem with your argument. Please, may I respond? Please.
Okay,
Hello?
sure. Yes, please respond. Yes.
My problem with this is that you're kind of actually you're making this from a safe distance where you're othering this. You're creating an example where it's like another, right? And this is like this could never happen to me, so therefore this person deserves this. But if we take away that othering and we just say, well, what if it could happen to you, right? What if you get falsely accused?
What do you mean?
Let me finish, please.
I'm asking.
Let me finish.
You're going to hear my argument.
Thank you very much.
I can explain what I mean by it. Like, what I'm saying is like it's easy for me to say that person who's not like me deserves blank because I'm not personally putting myself in that bin, right? I'm not subjecting myself to that. But if we take away that and I ask you, well, what if the false conviction thing could happen to you, right? And what if you get put in that boat? Would you feel like us needing to treat things this way is worth you being falsely imprisoned and falsely subjected to it? I feel like we'd have different answers, right? Like I personally don't feel like there's any crime that's worth me being falsely accused of something for and being killed for if I didn't actually do it. But we do risk that so long as there's always a death penalty for something, because the court system isn't perfect, because human psychology isn't perfect, because of all these things that only work in a vacuum where things are perfect.
I still don't understand what you mean by othering someone.
Right.
What do you mean othering?
So when you said the person who's totally fine with assaulting children, assaulting minors, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of fictional. Like again, we see that people who are like that. Again, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that they don't exist. I'm saying that the idea that they exist in a vacuum with no backstory that actually explains why they're like that, because there is no like people don't just come out of the womb like that, right?
So you're saying that there's a backstory that would make acceptable that type of abuse?
Do you think that people really come out of the womb being
I think that some people are actually, yes, indeed, born so broken, so damaged.
So what's the gene?
Hang on, that there are parts in their brain that are so non-functioning, they neither have empathy, sympathy, remorse, or guilt. They are nothing but a machine.
What's the gene malignant sociopathy?
I'm sorry?
What's the gene that transcribes malignant sociopathy or gene set?
I don't
know. The reason I'm asking you this, the reason I'm asking you this, by the way, is that you can't say that this can start from. You can't say that this is something that's encoded into the human genome and thus it's removable. These things almost always start with some sort of.
It's not even a genetic thing. I'm not saying it's a genetic thing. You're assuming that it's hereditary. I'm not assuming it's hereditary. I'm saying it could be damage in the womb. It could be poisoning by the mother doing too many drugs or being poisoned herself or being punched by a father who didn't want her to carry to term.
So not with the chronic illness or a disability.
Non-functioning brain.
Yeah, you're talking about a disability now.
Mm-hmm.
Let me bring it back to what I think is the core thing here, because Patrick Thibodeau, longtime friend of the show, brings this up. These fellas were
Patrick.
almost certainly innocent and definitely executed
May
So
they
the
rest in
question
peace.
is,
Oh yeah, because there's doubt there. I mean,
what
I'm not talking.
is acceptable collateral damage? You say there was doubt there. What would be, what are few enough, like, for us, I guess, is his question. What's
Well,
a,
I'm sure there's cases out there, but look, I don't care what kind of what. To me personally, I don't care what social circumstances you are in that put you in a certain spot. There's no excuse for a violent
Well,
crime.
the
There's
reason
no
that matters,
excuse.
just to be clear, the reason that matters is because the argument is that these things often come from nurture, not from nature.
Let's bring it back, though, because we just went off this question. This is, in my opinion, the question. These guys right here. Well, excuse me. What is the acceptable collateral damage? So I've heard the case made that we only do it to people we're certain are guilty, and Mike gave scenarios where there's an abundance of evidence. But my point is, we thought we were right in the past too. We thought we were certainly correct, but we were wrong. So is there such a thing? And I don't know the answer to this because obviously there's school shooters caught on camera, but is there truly such a thing as complete and utter certainty when you take a life?
Side point, security cameras are often incredibly inaccurate when it comes to identifying people.
Side point
Just
is
saying.
this, because I don't want us to talk about that. I want us to address the main
Okay.
question. Let's assume security
Sure. What
cameras
about
are
traffic
perfect.
cameras?
Sure. We're going to stop talking about that because the main question on the table. If we've been wrong once ever as a government, then how can we ever again be confident that we won't find out we've killed an innocent person again? And I'm not saying that rhetorically. Is there just a risk you have to take when you're trying to run a civilization of 1/3 of a billion people?
Or can I just to, because it seems like maybe we're not getting a lot of interaction, I wanted to use that to help Wireless Mike understand what I was saying. It's like, it's easier for me to throw a stone in the air and risk other people getting hit when I don't have to feel like I'm also at risk of getting hit. So that's why it's easier to talk about, this person who's irreparably damaged versus someone who we can actually help. Going into like the collateral damage thing, my question for people is there a level to which you wouldn't accept the risk of your child even being falsely accused of something? Is there a certain sentence, like, because getting a traffic ticket that you don't deserve, oh well, move on, right? Like, get a job or whatever. But like, obviously life in prison, if you care about somebody or even yourself, that shouldn't be acceptable for most people, I would think. So is there a threshold for sentencing that there's too much collateral damage that we need to start considering the consequences of these things? At least
traffic tickets aren't judged by juries, for one. There's a lot more that goes into a prosecution for a murder, especially a heinous mass murder. And as far as the cameras go, when you have multiple angles of the same person entering a building and you can identify them from the moment they
we
step
did
into
not want to do
parking
the
lot.
camera thing, by the way. We
I'm just
were
saying,
trying to avoid the
that's-
camera argument.
That's but you're trying to say, oh, it might not be, that might not be them. We could be wrong about it. No, I'm specifically talking
This is just
about
very circumstantial
where-
is the issue.
I'm talking about where there's not everything is circumstantial. All evidence in court is circumstantial.
Okay, no, we're saying that like the camera
Let's give
thing
them all
applies
grace for
more
a
on a
moment.
case-by-case basis.
Let's assume that.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like we're arguing about not the point. So please make your
that's
point,
kinda where I
but
was
make
headed.
it as go for where you're headed. Let me understand.
I'm just saying from a safety standpoint for the public.
We're
Are
losing
certain
you.
people willing to continue doing harm?
We got from a safety standpoint for the public. Could you repeat the rest? It was poor time for tech to crap out on us. From a safety standpoint for the public.
In order to protect the public from the
It's like you couldn't have timed it more perfectly.
Mike, I'm sorry.
Is he trolling us? Is he actually? Maybe we're getting trolled. Like, because that's just too perfect.
I just think he's just angered the devil.
I think I'm back. Am I back?
Okay, you're back. Yeah,
you're back.
Okay. All right. Where did I get cut off? I don't even know.
The exact
what you
same
heard.
spot. The literal same word. Just take it
The
from
same
the top
word
from a
where?
safety standpoint.
Okay, from a safety standpoint, to protect the public, there are certain people who are so dangerous, either at the risk of escaping and going back into the public to do more harm, or influencing other people who are also damaged and open to the possibility of influence to doing just as heinous of an act. There are some people who it is better for the rest of public, and I'm talking about, the better the better of the many outweighing the benefit of the one. Okay, it's like you're so focused on we can fix him. Why did the anti-hero decide to become the villain? That's not important when it comes to multiple lives, innocent lives being taken and lost at the hands of one individual who can't seem to control themselves.
Yeah, I can address
That's
this head
all I'm
on,
saying.
by the way. Yeah, I can address this head on. Is that the immediate threat is what you'd rather deal with. And my thing is that I'd rather take the risk. Like, I'd rather live in a society where there's a risk that a prisoner can escape and find me and I can still defend myself versus me being persecuted by a system that I can't defend myself against.
Yes.
I'm just look.
You're willing to risk the lives of. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I've talked a lot.
I'm just
sorry.
gonna come back to my main point is that look, I don't care if you're homeless. I mean, I've been homeless for a while. I got a cousin that's homeless. I'm just saying, I don't care what your social circumstance is. If you go around and you're a mass murderer and you go around and kill, there's no excuse for any of that. And so
exactly.
Just to be clear, nobody's saying that there's an excuse. Just that we're not fixing anything by trying to squash it like a bug.
This is where the whole doubt in the system comes in. That Jake makes a point that's hard for me to argue against. I'm just saying, if there's no doubt, and we know this person's guilty, he's a menace to society, he is a murderer, okay, and he is found guilty by a jury. Then he's going to go to prison for life, and then the death penalty is on the table. I still think it should be up to the family to decide. Okay, I just do, because society has this, the victims' families is directly involved here, and they could come up and say, look, this baby, I believe in life for her life. This person took my child from me, killed it, hypothetically killed other people, and maybe it could be more than one family too. It could be a gathering of families of all the same victims, and they could get together and say, look, just only life for life is right, and it makes me feel like justice has been done if this person is unalived.
I have to say,
justice is the key word I'm looking for.
What you bring up there is the thing I'm going to be thinking about for a long time. I don't know if I agree or even disagree yet with the specifics, but I do think it's a fascinating concept to involve the victim's family in the judgment after a guilty verdict is found. That is just an interesting concept that I'm going to chew on for a good long time. Thank you for it. And by the way, can I recommend we do a palate cleanser discussion? Talk about anything else, because I'm good and sad now.
May I just say one thing? The execution of someone like that is not supposed it's not meant to be like for the victims of the families to feel better for
justice, not for justice. Or they feel like
I'm not out for
vengeance. Okay, vengeance.
I'm talking.
Have we considered that vengeance feels good
for public safety's sake?
I see. You guys are talking
It doesn't
about
matter if
different.
vengeance feels good. That's not the point.
I was literally kidding.
So.
Yeah,
It's
we're
just-
talking
yeah,
about
it's a
completely
joke.
different things.
But yeah,
I'm watching
that is
Star
an
Wars,
interesting
and
fact.
Anakin's
but
been
that's-
inspiring.
But you bring up different points, which is interesting. One being about the concerns of the family, which I think are legitimate. The other being about the safety of the community, which I think is also legitimate. But
Yeah.
I feel like it's been good and talked about. I got to chew over all this stuff, or it's going to start blending together.
Any
Does
Trekkies
anybody
here?
have what now?
Star Wars is better than Star Trek. Prove me wrong.
Oh, good lord.
All
I
right,
like
who's going to
Star
take
Trek.
this one? Boom.
Oh, really? You want to go there?
Well, I gotta know.
Oh,
Someone's
no.
got
Star
to
Trek
take
is
up
based
this.
on a more
No,
possible
we are not doing
future.
the Star Trek thing, are we?
Oh, I think we are. Somebody look. This is
Oh,
first
God,
and
not the
foremost a
Star
channel.
I just got-
Wars versus
Wars.
the
I just
Star
got-
Trek thing.
I just got one
Trump
thing to
add
say.
Star Wars to the
Okay.
cancellation list.
No like Trump's ever seen Star Wars.
All I gotta
Please.
say, all I gotta say
Yeah,
is
no.
William,
Anybody who's never seen Star Wars,
William
don't debate me
Shatner.
on this. You're
William
disqualified.
Shatner, the GOAT.
William Shatner is in fact the GOAT.
He's a
tell you
transphobe. What? No, he's not.
Oh, what?
Melanie,
both,
please tell me that's not so. Please
I
tell me you were
beg
lying
you.
just to hurt my feelings.
There's a reason he banned me on Twitter
No, William
Wow.
Shatner.
because I told him exactly what's up.
I feel like I
no.
just missed a whole lot of stuff. I just
Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna
I don't
start.
have like a link to the evidence, so I'll just leave it there. I'll admit.
I
that's
love
all got.
everybody that's
I
up
believe
here.
you. I believe you though.
I'm going to start scything. Everybody who has gone up in a debate already, I'm going to kick you, and it's with all love.
Okay.
But I'm gonna whittle it down. Don James X, it was a pleasure, a fascinating conversation. LT9K, a spooky good Trump impression, and thank you for lightening the mood.
Yeah.
Obsessive Audio, I think I'm going to regret it, but I'm going to include you in the list because we already talked. We already had a discussion, and it was a good one, and I can clip that already.
Let me add it, Jake. Let me debate.
All right. Do you want to take the Star Trek versus Star Wars, or do you want to hang
Well, she
out?
said she hasn't seen Star Wars. She's instantly
No,
disqualified.
I
Ooh,
have.
see if
It was
that's
just
audio.
like 20 plus years ago.
And
It would be no.
I
It
shouldn't
would be
have this
no
'cause
good.
I haven't seen Star Trek, and I do actually plan on watching through it to make like a full comparison.
I have seen Star Trek.
They're just
Let's-
like my thing was going to be is that they're substantially different series, just like on the face, and Star Trek is just way kind of more like stretched out serially than Star Trek is, and that makes Star Trek or Star Wars like I'm going to start messing this up real bad. That makes Star Wars like a much better kind of more condensed viewing experience, especially when like we look at the themes that both of them are trying to cover.
Okay, I'm not high enough for this. Hold on.
I've been rewatching the series. I
Trek
actually started
covers
watching for the first
every-
time.
Wait,
Sorry,
wait,
what?
I gotta cut a promo for Annie Fitzgerald right here. Washington, that's the kind of representative you need. She's getting dragged into a nerdy debate. She says, "I'm not high enough for this." Does she run away? No, she
after,
says, "Hold."
yeah,
No,
after being
no,
dragged
I'm
into
still
a pretty
here.
heinous
you know.
debate earlier too. So I apologize for that.
No, I don't know.
Oh wait, never
I
mind. I know
mean-
how to win this debate. John Williams made the score for like the first 6 movies.
Did he not do a Star Trek song?
No, he didn't do
But he
Star Trek.
do all the Star Trek.
Oh
I
my
just feel
god, I'm in a
John
room
Williams
with
did every
nerds.
other soundtrack ever. But okay, all right.
I'm only doing this
Nerds.
because I started rewatching the episodes 1 through 6 like in order. And the thing is like episodes 1 through 3, you can't watch it out of order, is what I realized. It is too jarring to go from 4 to 6 to 1 to 3. As much as that makes
Why?
sense.
Why?
Because it's not made to be watched that way. It's really that simple.
it was
There's a-
how they were originally
series.
made. It's the way I grew up through them.
No, I understand. Okay, so the thing about episode 1, right? Like let's talk about Jar
Oh,
Jar for
no.
a second. He
What have
Oh,
I gotten
God.
into?
Second time he's come up in this conversation.
Do you
Jar
know-
Jar?
well,
Jar
yeah,
Jar
I brought him.
specifically.
I brought him up both times, and so
Oh,
it
okay.
doesn't
I
matter.
missed that
Oh.
earlier. I must have my
Because I
my
did
line
this
must have been
voice,
down.
and it kind of sounds like Jar Jar. But, um, oh my god, I just realized how well this voice fits my Furby. Anyways,
It does.
so what was I saying? Oh yeah, so he like you realize that he's a comedic relief character. Do you realize what comedic relief player he's analogous to from episodes 4 through 6?
Wait, say that again.
So
What did
Jar
you
Jar,
see?
like we can agree, Jar Jar is a comedic relief character, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember what comedic relief character kind of had the same role as Jar Jar in episodes 4 through 6?
3PO.
Close. 3PO's in both though, so we can't actually switch them out like that.
I don't know then.
Well,
Chewbacca.
I mean, R2 for Chewbacca? No.
Yeah.
Actually, I kind of get what you're saying. The parts where Chewie's a tough guy, it's for comic relief.
And here's the second thing you need to realize, right? Like we get way more like close-up shots of Chewbacca in 4 through 6, and we get more intimate than him. Whereas Jar Jar, we don't. And part of the reason to this is that the world in episodes 1 through 3, there's an existing like republic that exists. That's almost like the U.S. kind of diplomacy, or political system, I should say. And like there's a lot to follow in that. In episodes 4 through 6, there's really just the rebellion. There's not a lot of like diplomatic stuff going on anymore. Princess Leia is the biggest diplomat like in the series.
Okay.
She does more fighting than diplomacy.
Viva la revolution.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree, but
so your argument is that Star Wars is better than Star Trek because the movies were out of order and it's hard to watch them in their original. I'm totally confused.
I'm still just talking about why you need to watch them in order. So
why you need to watch them in order. I don't disagree that they're great
Jar
in
Jar
order,
after
but it's not
Chewie.
impossible to watch them in the original order that they were released, especially because the original, the first episodes 1 through 3 were specifically written so that they were prequels to episodes 4 through 6.
But mind you, like 4 through 6 almost like if you watch 4 through 6 afterwards, there's totally like an acknowledgement to the prequels. They're almost written as if they're sequels to the prequels as well. So I think George Lucas had a very strong vision. But what I'm getting at is like if you watch Jar Jar after Chewie, okay, can I just get to what I'm trying to my super nerdy point, and then I'll have nerdgasmed, and then I'm done. I'll be in my refractory period.
Oh my god!
I'm sorry, Annie.
Oh my god!
Go for it.
So if you watch Jar Jar's kind of antics after Chewie, it doesn't seem to fit because we're used to Chewie's kind of more like close-up form of comedic relief where he's responding to things, whereas Jar Jar kind of gets in the way. But if you have no preconceived expectations for comedic relief going into the first episode, it completely changes just how tolerable Jar Jar is. Not how stupid he is. He's still like the worst character. It's so much more tolerable because it's like, oh, I don't have something in my mind for how Star Wars should do comedic relief.
Okay.
Star Wars. If I said Star Trek at any point, I was only talking about
you said Star Wars.
I got
Star
you.
Wars.
Good.
Okay, so you're saying that Jar Jar is unbearable compared to Chewie, but you think that Chewie was specifically the comic relief for those first three for episodes 4 through 6. You think he was the comic relief?
I mean, yeah, like the most of the jokes that Han would bounce off of another character would be Chewie, and since he's kind of like an open canvas,
they had good banter, but that's not necessarily. I mean that's him. That would be saying that he and Han were both the comic relief, like they're the Laurel and Hardy of the movie.
No, but I think Chewie was still
you got
like
the straight guy, and then you've got the
So you know how Jar Jar will like react to stuff, and it'll be like really stupid. He'll be like, "Ooh, you saw," or something, right? That was Chewie's role in Star Wars, where he would make like some sort of animalistic reaction and be like, "Oh, that's relatable. I would react that way too," even though he's kind of mostly a dog person. The point being that there's a certain sort of quality, and I don't mean subhuman in like degenerate way. I mean subhuman in like having these humanoid creatures who can respond in a way that's relatable to us, but also different and eccentric, is part of that comedic relief. And if like Chewie is kind of like refined in a way, not saying like literally refined, but the comedy is much more nuanced, whereas Jar Jar is like in your face. And so again, if you go into episode 1 expecting that nuanced comedy, Jar Jar is just like he's an idiot. He just ruins everything.
Okay,
but if
well,
you go into it without expectations, he's slapstick and he is kind of humorous.
Well, he's very, very. I never saw Chewie as slapstick. But let me ask you this: How familiar are you?
That's what I'm saying, right? Like Chewie isn't slapstick.
Well, no, I never considered him the comic relief. There were a couple of funny parts, but almost all of the other characters, aside from Luke, had fairly funny moments. You know, as comic relief throughout the story.
I don't think Leia has the funniest. No, she's not that funny.
Really?
What's a Leia
joke?
What?
Well, she's a badass. I agree, but what's her joke?
Like, your little short for a
She does quips in
stormtrooper.
action.
Fucking yeah, man. She ripped on all of them all the time. She was the funniest one of the whole group.
Right, but quips aren't like you don't get comedic relief from
What?
quips. Like you're in the action during that.
Had the quickest comebacks with everybody. She was constantly
I
burning
agree,
on
but
Han.
that doesn't
and
make
Chewie.
that doesn't make a character a comedic
The only
relief.
one she felt bad about burning on was Chewie because he was the only one that was genuinely on her side most of the time.
Gang, real quick. You remember earlier when I was hearing a
That's
bunch
her
of
attitude.
Discord?
That doesn't make her a comedic relief.
Oh, I want to sink my teeth into this, but I can't. You remember those Discord messages earlier?
What?
I effed up pretty bad.
Yeah.
I gotta end the stream. I do apologize.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna do this again.
Oh.
Obviously, Mel's invited. All y'all are invited. Annie Fitzgerald. We're gonna
continue this Star Wars conversation.
Sincerely, I want to. I'll continue it offline. I can't let that stand. But
I have
Annie
one more
Fitzgerald.
thing to say. if we're not in a rush, are we in a rush?
We're in a slight rush, but say it.
Just because characters can act as comedic relief doesn't make them the comedic relief. It depends what they're written for.
Just because somebody watched a movie doesn't mean they fucking saw it. Carrie
I'm a
Fisher
fucking expert,
is a
actually.
national treasure. You
I'm a
son
film
of
expert. I'm a film expert now because I tell Star Wars.
I'm with you, Jake. I'm with you.
Annie, is there anything you want to plug before I go and desperately apologize to my friend?
Yeah. So, you guys, please consider following me on my new Twitch channel. It is the Disabled Proletariat, all one word. You can follow me on my Twitter account, at Annie Fitzwaugh WA38. You can there's lots of different ways you can follow me. I am currently trying to plan some future events, and I am in desperate need for volunteers. You do not have to be in my area to help out. This is stuff that would be done online or over the phone. So if you are interested in helping me out or would like to contribute to my campaign, please let me know. You can send me a message at electanniefitzgerald.com. Please do let me know, and we'll go from there.
Well, thank you so much. And gang, I'm sorry for leaving rudely, but in my defense, I did think no one was going to show up to this. So thank you for coming to my party.
Yeah,
Good night,
honestly,
all.
thank you for doing this. I love these
Heck
speed
yeah.
debates already.
Oh, it's fun.
Even though
It's
I'm criticizing your format, but
Well, that's why we're doing it like this. It's to be criticized. We got to find out what doesn't work as much as what does.
Hey, Melanie, I just want to leave you with something real quick before you go. Consider the fact Jar Jar was supposed to originally be written as the villain.
Oh boy.
No, he
And
is
it
a
had to be
Sith. He's definitely a Sith Lord. I agree.
That's true.
Right.
Even though we
He's
was
totally a
YTV,
Sith Lord.
That's what we do. That's Melanie Cosmic Fox. My name's Jake. That's Wireless Mike. That's Eddie Fitzgerald. That'll Bye.